grand finals. I am FrickMyNick, joined by the BILLDOZER as my co-caster. We have a analysis desk here tonight consisting of May, Sandblast, and Tojo. Everyone wants to say hi so we can get some familiar voices going.
Yeah, what's up?
Hey. And you guys do know me. I've been casting a few of these playoffs matches. Looking forward to seeing some good TF2 tonight. What do you think, Nick?
I think we have the best TF2 we could ask for. We have our two finalists here, the two teams invite. They've battled their way from the upper bracket and lower bracket, respectively. We're going to be playing Granary, Product, and Sunshine. Granary, Product, and Sunshine as our three maps tonight. And we're going to be getting right into it.
Yeah, I'd like to see what we have Habib doing here, because Habib's been showing himself to be, as we all know, one of the strongest demo mans in the region. And, you want to start out a match like this strong.
Indeed, and on the other side, he's going to be bot mode demo. Just to run down the rosters really quick on this rollout, we have Slemnish and Yite on Ascent. They're going to be playing Scout. We have Skis Medic for Ascent, and Laz and Jay on Soldier. On froyotech, we have Blaze and Yomps playing Soldier, Eric and Banny Scout, Habib Demo, and Nursey Medic. Habib's going to be a little bit faster to bot mode on this bit. Both of them are playing on their respective catwalks, taking their own. All of Ascent is rolling up top. We're going to see a really aggressive Soldier bot mode. Laz and Jay, both of them are committing. Laz is up on the lamp, but Habib's going to be the first death in the mid. Laz is going to be traded up by Yomps. So that we're going to see Slamnish is in. He's going to take down Banny. Froyo is going to be trying to play their positioning on the crates, but we're going to see bot mode's going to get the pick on the Yomps. So Blaze is going to play him two on the bot mode and Slem. Blaze should go down here shortly to Yite, but it is Nursey and Eric versus Skis is left the mid. He has survived. He should be getting chased down. Eric is on the chase. Nursey has survived the mid as well. Laz is going to be spawning up. He's going to be trying to meet up with Skis before Eric finds him. He's going to be out on the shutter. Laz is going to come in time, but Eric is committing. He's going to find the pick on the Skis. He's going to go down super late into this mid. Nursey is going to be retreating here. Oh, and Eric's going to finally go down. Laz is going to punish him, but the damage is done. Skis has died super late into this mid.
Yeah, we saw Ascent kind of take a spread out plan on that mid fight with people being on both the left and right sides, but froyotech decided to go entirely on the left side, and it meant that they had a strong presence here, and they were able to keep Ascent from being able to get too much presence that they wanted to take themselves.
Yep, so we are going to see Froyo winning out that mid. Nursey was able to survive and has full advantage here. Skis has come up on the respawner, going to be building up his Uber. We have Yite on the engineer and Slemnish on the sniper here. So we're going to see Froyo trying to take the lunchbox for their perspective, while Ascent puts up a haphazard defense on two. Froyo's going to be making their way in here. They are 6 above the point. I don't think anybody from Froyo, but Lad is actually in Z. He's going to be trying to contest the point. Froyo's getting stalled out for a long time here. Skis about 50% on his Uber. Coming up on 60 now, and Froyo still has yet to cap 2, just not capping it.
Yeah, and while I talk about this a little bit, Nick, you may want to check your mumble quality. You're having a little bit of an issue, as Froyo is going to go ahead and bomb in with Habib very aggressively, as we have Banny taking point, Habib bombing up the sentry gun, and Froyo is able to get the point pretty well. Ascent unable to keep them off of it at all.
So we are going to see the 1-0 for Froyo very quick here. About a 3-minute round for them. We're going to see a second mid. Bill, what does Ascent need to change to try and take a second mid here?
Well, I think I'd like to see them be a little more cohesive on this push. Like I said last time, they were a little bit spread out. Your mumble's better, by the way. I'd like to see them a little bit more together, more pushing with the same idea in mind. As we actually have Jay going for a big bomb, immediately denied. Laz going in, trying to take some high ground, as Froyo has this entire left side under control, as Ascent is now going to initiate, getting some important damage onto Habib, who is immediately healed off. What else are you seeing here, Nick?
Yep, so we're going to see 3 down on the side of Froyo. Both Soldiers and Eric are down. It's Banny and Habib versus 5 players from Ascent. Laz is going to be the only death on the side of Ascent, and it looks like Ascent is going to claim out a second mid. They are going to be chasing into Yard from their perspective, but Froyo's going to come up on their spawns, so if they're able to make this fight messy and buy time for their spawns, they should be able to hold the garage area.
Yeah, and they're going to need to try and find a good way to get in here, as Froyo has this place absolutely locked down. Things are going to get real spicy for them if they try to push straight in.
Yep, so Ascent is going to be gearing up on the lunchbox side of things. They're going to be looking for a pick on froyotech's flank. They're rotating their heels over. Eric has spotted them. They know that they're over there, and they're going to be trying to look for a pick on the Blaze. Blaze is getting pressured a little bit by the Soldiers, and it looks like Ascent is kind of staying in the shorter area for the time being. We are going to see it stalemate out, so we should be seeing a play from Ascent here shortly.
Yeah, and I like the pressure that they're putting on the lunchbox area, because if you can force this soldier, that is to say Blaze out, the lunchbox area does tend to be the path of least resistance, but just getting up there and getting in there safely can be difficult at all.
Yeah, and we do see Laz keeping up a constant pressure along with Jay in that area, making it so that soldier is very relegated to the doorway. And it looks like Ascent is going to be trying to push in. It looks like Laz is going to be the one to get in. He's going to be trading some spam here with Blaze. Blaze is going to back up, get arrowed up by Nursey. Laz is going to do the same. Bandy's kind of hurt, ate some damage from the main, but Laz is actually going to get the better of Blaze, getting 2 nice directs on him in the doorway up top. So Ascent with the pick, should be trying to pressure Froyo. Habib is going to get the pick on the Slemmish, finding a sticky trap there. And Eric is a little bit weak, going to 1 HP. Jay not able to find a final rocket to finish him off there. He's going to squeak out 1 down for both teams. Should see things kind of stabilize once again.
Yeah, we saw Laz playing a very strong neutral game there in that corner, in that little hallway, and I think that Ascent probably had an opportunity to try and force the issue with how long of a match this is going to be. They're probably going to want to be a little aggressive sooner rather than later here.
Yep, and with Slemnish and Blaze coming up on their respawns, neither of them have decided to come up and off class. We do see cookie cutter classes for both teams. Froyo, again, just holding in their garage area on 2, while Ascent holds in the yard. We are going to see some pressuring from Ascent. They're going to be pressuring the cap here as Slemnish, and Jay is going to be trying to pressure from the lunchbox area. It doesn't look like they're getting anything major, but they are just kind of edging out the cap. They're getting a ton of cap time. It's about half capped at this point. I don't know if Froyo is going to try and take an exchange or anything here, but they can't just let Ascent get away with capping this for free.
No, and I think that putting pressure on a point like this is a great option from Ascent, but Habib is really locking down this door, making it very difficult for Froyo to try and get in. However, you do see some flank play coming out of froyotech, actually taking down Laz, and it looks like both the Scouts and Yomps are maybe going to try and force this issue themselves, as you actually see Ascent backing all the way out to mid.
Yep, and we saw Slemnish go down along with Laz, a bit of a 2-man coming out of Ascent. Furrio's going to take back their yard, and they're going to be pressuring into mid. Ban is going to be the first death here, but Eric is going to find bot mode in exchange. We're going to see the exchange. Jay's going to find 2 huge rockets to take down Eric and Yomp. And it looks like they're going to be chasing into yard, but Nursey has yet to use Uber.
Yeah, the fact that Nursey's not used Uber yet is pretty big, because on this second point, you have essentially nowhere to run. If Ascent pushes in here, they could find themselves in the business end of a meat
from up top,
grinder.
going to be pressuring Blaze along with the rest of us. Laz is in, is going to find a decent first rocket onto Nurse. Blaze is going to take him down along with the respawners from Froyo. Froyo has some pretty weak soldiers, and Ascent is kind of far back in the yard, but again, Nursey has yet to pop her Uber, and Skis is at a 65% Uber disadvantage. Yai is going to go down to Blaze in the shutter area, and it looks like Froyo's going to be trying to keep pushing from the garage area into mid.
Yeah, Froyo played that really well, as they understood, I think we have a pause, they understood that there wasn't really much that Ascent could do to try and push in there, so they played their outs, they played the architecture, and they were able to keep Ascent from getting into that.
Yeah, and I do want to mention when Skis got forced off on mid, Jay hit a huge collateral air shot and was able to take down 2 players. I believe it was Yomps and Eric that both died to that, so big props to Jay for hitting big rockets when it matters. So we are going to see in this pause, kind of break it down a little bit for you, is pushing into mid. They have about a 50% Uber advantage. I don't know if Skis is healing. Actually, it doesn't matter because the pause happens in a minute and a half in the future. What am I saying? But so yeah, Skis is about a 50% Uber disadvantage. They are down Yite on the side of Ascent, and Furyu has pulled their scouts in a position up top. Nursey is about to come in on the catwalk as well, and it looks like it's just Slemnish on mid, so from what I'm seeing, it looks like Furyu should be able to take mid for just about free here, but by the time the mid actually gets capped up by Furyu, Ascent's going to get all their spawns and probably be healed and ready to hold too.
Yeah, and this is the Granary Curse. Very slow gameplay, as it can be very difficult to push in and out of these points.
And we're going to see the unpaused. Slemnish is able to surf out from the catwalk from his perspective. Froyo just stacking the cap on mid. And we are going to see Ascent just holding in their shutter area, waiting for the spawner of Yike. He is going to come up and meet with them out of the forward spawn. So Ascent 6 up. Froyo, I believe, does have a Uber advantage for the time being. Skis is just coming up on his Uber right now. So we're going to see things even out. Skis getting a decent amount of damage from the garage area, down to about 60 HP. It doesn't look like anybody for Froyo is going to be in a position to follow up on it, but he did need a good amount of spam there. So we should see a play out of Froyo here shortly, as they are the ones holding mid now.
Yeah, and this point, this very specific courtyard in particular is famous for being incredibly difficult to push into, and I think that some aggressive sacks out of Froyo may be the ticket here. Let's see what they try and do.
We see Eric running in, trying to find a frag on a JJ with a couple of nice rockets along with a sticky from Botmore. They're going to take him down. Ascent is going to be looking for a counterplay onto Froyo. Looks like Yomps is kind of hurt by the choke area, and Botmore's going to pressure into the garage area. He's going to go down. Bandit going to find the punish on that one. Slemish a little bit weak as well. Looks like for the time being, with Ascent being down a demo, Froyo's going to be looking to make an exchange. They're going to be in. They're going to get a good force off on the Jay. Lots of flashing from both of the teams. Banny is going to take down Jay, though. Jay was very hurt in that Uber, and through all the flashing, Banny was able to find that one. Froyo is chasing him through the shutter. They do have a slightly better Uber charge. They're going to get the positioning onto Yomps, and Banny are pressuring out Ascent in the shutter. Slemish down so weak, and Penny and Eric are going to be pressuring the right side shutter. They are going to get their cap onto Laz. Going to go for a play onto Nursey. Not going to find that one. As we're going to see things kind of slow down for the time being. Ascent back to their last, and Froyo holding their 2.
Yeah, and froyotech again played that really well. Even though they had but a single pick, they were able to push Froyo, or they were able to push Ascent out with their superior positioning and the fact that they were just putting out a lot more damage in that fight.
Yeah, so we're going to see it is even Ubers. Yite is going to be building a sentry gun to try and buff the defense for Ascent here. Froyo is still all cookie cutter. They did not lose anybody during that exchange. We're going to see Eric and Blaze going to go down in the upper area. Jay claiming both of those frags. Nice rockets from him to take down the aggressive soldier plays. Flemish is in the lunchbox, and Jay is going to be jumping into all of Froyo. Going to get a nice force off on the Nursey. Skis is going to use his Uber in the top area. We are going to see a player advantage for Ascent for the time being. Banny's going to go down to Laz as well. So 3 down on the side of Froyo, and Yomps is super weak as well. Going to be eating a ton of damage. Slemish going to claim that frag. Basically 4 down on the side of Froyo. They do have 2 respawners coming in, but with the Ubers out of the equation, Ascent does have an advantage here.
Yeah, and I want to highlight what Yomps did in that, as he did a brilliant job of separating Jay and Skis, and he just forced Skis out when they were in that upper room by themselves.
Yeah, but it looks like Froyo's going to be able to hold on to the inside area of 2 with a nice pick onto Slemish. Habib was able to find that one, so you're going to see Ascent back to their last. And with Slemish coming up in 1 second, they shouldn't see too many issues. Banny's going to be pressuring in from the top area. Froyo is just going to be making room for Yomps to come in on the right side from their perspective. Yomps is going to jump in. A really late bomb out of Blaze. Going to find an okay first rocket onto Skis. Skis eating about 40 damage. They're not going to find much else. Banny and Yomps are going to go in as well, leaving just Habib, Eric, and Nursey on the side of froyotech. It is even Oop. They're going to be probably looking to take an exchange on the point while they're down 3. Eric's pressuring. Bombo's going to be trying to sticky up the shutter. Habib's coming in there with the repressure, but they're going to let Ascent cap here. And Slemish is going to be taking the Uber, and they're going to take an exchange with Froyo here. Slightly better Uber for Nursey here. They did have to flash a couple of times. Ascent is just going to be backing up to the shutter from their perspective. And Froyo, with all of their spawns, are going to be getting in to the yard area on 2. Looks like they're going to be able to hold the yard for the time being. And Ascent is just going to be content with holding the inside area 32 with the point cap.
Yeah, it's a shame that Ascent, all they could really do in that point was just sort of sit around and wait for Froyo to make a mistake. And currently they do have Froyo on the back foot. However, Froyo has been making better Ubers and better pushes in general. So we'll have to see what their plan is to try and get back into the second point.
Yep, and Froyo taking Ascent's lunchbox area. Banny is going to go down to Slemish, so it looks like they're going to back off. They're looking for maybe a pick onto Slemish or Laz, and it looks like Slemish is going to get in and going to find Habib as well, but Eric's going to get in and get Slemish and Ski. He's going to claim Jay as well. Big 3k coming out of Eric there. Jay is going to find the frag onto Yomps, and Yite is going to finally end the killing spree out of Eric. And Laz is going to find Nursey in the back lines on mid. It's just going to be Blaze and Banny up for the side of Froyo. Laz going to get the pick on the Blaze. Banny's going to kill Yite in the choke area. Going to be trying to fight Laz and bot mode on mid. He's going to lose the 2v1 there. Bot mode with some nice stickies. And it looks like it's going to be a mid for the time being for Ascent. Bot mode getting a huge sticky trap kill onto Yomps there. And it looks like Froyo should slow down here.
Yeah, I like the aggressive solo Uber that we saw coming out of Ascent, mainly taking that on Slemish, I believe it was, and he was able to force that Uber out of Froyo, and he was able to do a lot of damage to people that weren't getting Ubered. Once the team came through, they were able to luckily salvage that fight, and now we have Ascent trying to maybe win a fight here and push into the second point.
Yeah, and we saw Froyo was able to try and repush into mid for the time being, but Blaze and Habib are going to go down. They are going to trade out the frag on the bot mode. Yomps is going to find that one. Jay is going to trade it out, however, so Habib is going to get the forward spawn, and Froyo is down both soldiers for the time being, but Banny is in from the garage area, is going to kill Jay. tons of scrappy fighting outside of Froyo. Eric is going to find the pick onto Slemnick. Going to eat some, a couple nice rockets from Laz. Going to end up staying alive. Habib is going to find the pick onto Laz. Ascent not able to get the cap, and Froyo off the back of making a super scrappy fight, just playing their spawn advantage, is going to be able to hold on to mid, and they're actually going to get, it looks like, oh, Ski's eating a bunch of damage in the short area from Eric, but he's going to end up squeaking out there, and it looks like Froyo should be able to take 2 off the back of their really aggressive mid play.
Yeah, it seemed as though as they pushed out of mid, they did back up into that garage area. They re-engaged really well, but more importantly, they were able to bait Ascent into that area and keep them from getting any more kills while they were able to return the kills themselves.
Yeah, we saw an exchange on the point here on 2. It looks like Habib and Bot Mode were the main recipients of those 2 Uber charges. Bot Mode is going to go down off the back of that, and Froyo wants to try and push into Last off this. Or in on the left side, Banny's going to find the frag onto Laz. They're going to be trying to push into Last off the space made there. Jay is going to be in onto Nursey, and Habib going to find good damage onto both of them. Habib and Blaze are going to go down. It's just Banny and Nursey for Froyo, while Ascent is just down their 2 soldiers. Looks like Bandy and Nursey are going to make it out into Yard and into mid to try and meet up with their respawners, but Ascent with a really good defense.
Yeah, I think it's important to notice that the scouts of Ascent have really been balling up and getting a lot. They've been finding themselves a lot more successful in these 1v1s that they've been taking compared to previous matches that we've seen. And I look forward to seeing what else they can do across this match.
We saw Yom stacking in onto Skis on the mid area. Skis did have about a 20% advantage over Nursey. It looks like Nursey's going to be coming up on her Uber. Froyo is down Yomps for the time being, and as Ascent caps up on the... Yomps is actually going to get a spawn extended with the cap, so he was about 2 seconds away from getting a spawn, got bumped up to 10 seconds. Doesn't look like Ascent is really in a position to go off of it. Habib holding the garage area is super aggressive, while Eric and Banny are paying attention to the choke. And it looks like Ascent is just into the right yard for free. Blaze is super passive. They're going to get a force out of Skis, going to make it an exchange on the side of Froyo. Looks like Jay and co are going to be trying to meet up in the garage area, trying to play their positioning, but they're so weak on the side of Ascent. Laz is going to be the first death along with Blaze. They're going to trade out. Slamish is going to claim Habib, but Banny's going to get bot mode on the other side of things, and Yomps with a huge flank going to find Ski. Yite is going to punish him for that one, along with claiming Banny. Banny got kind of rolled by Yite there. And it looks like it's going to be Nursey and Eric trying to chase Jay and Slumnish into mid. Off the back of that Uber exchange, Nursey was able to live with Skis going down, so Froyo just playing their heals and able to play the long game.
Slumnish actually getting a nice little loop around there to keep Eric and Nursey out of getting back into mid. They thought that he was flanking around back. Smart play out of him, and able to possibly give his team a chance at holding on to this mid, at least until Froyo, with their 60% Uber ad, is able to push back in.
Yep, so we're going to see Froyo just building up the last of their Uber chop. It looks like Banny is gearing up to go from the garage area. Going to be trying to get some information of what Ascent is doing on the mid. We're going to see both of the soldiers playing their positioning up top. Skis far back on his cap. It looks like Froyo wants to go from the garage area. Yom's going to be jumping in, trying to make space for his team. Laz is going to go down to Banny. Wasn't able to find much there. And it looks like off the back of Laz going down, it looks like it's going to be enough of a delay, but Froyo is actually going to be Ubering into Sense Yard. They're going to find Skis out of position. They weren't backing up enough, and they just took it right into them. Slamdish is going to go down. Yite is going to find the pick onto Habib on mid, but Blaze is going to trade out that one, and Yomps is going to get the pick onto Jay. Essentially a full wipe for the side of Ascent, with Laz being a respawner who died very early in the mid.
Yeah, and we're just saying that relentless Froyo aggression as they push forward, scouts on the heal beam, and they just sort of walk forward and don't let the other team have any space to breathe, any time to think. You know, they're probably going to have a little bit of time right here, but Froyo still does have a 30 or 40% Uber ad, and if they build this well, they can go in within the next 10 or 15 seconds.
Yep, Nursey's at about 65%, so they're just going to be finishing up building. It looks like Froyo's going to be opting to wait for the Uber advantage rather than trying to go off picks. We're going to see the Yite Heavy and the Slemnish Sniper for Ascent, so the Scout's going to be playing the defensive off class. Both of the soldiers playing their positioning on the high ground, while Skis gives them nice buffs. We see bot mode far back with Stickies on the point. It's a pretty standard defense out of the side of Ascent. Looks like Froyo's going to be taking the Uber in from the right side. They're going to be bombing Habibin from their perspective. Going to find a nice couple of Stickies on the bot mode, and Ski. Bot mode's going to be the first death of this last hold. Yite's going to find two onto Habib and Yomps, but Banny and Blaze are going to get in. They're going to find two apiece. It's a disaster for a hold for the side of Ascent. Froyo getting a ton of value out of the Uber, and off the back of that, it's going to be 2-0 for froyotech.
Yeah, the fight was pretty even for a little while there, and then you saw Blaze coming with a huge bomb, dropping it right on top of Skis, on top of Yite, and he was able to finish off, importantly, the Heavy, which was a huge source of damage for Ascent in their attempts to hold that.
Yep, so we are going to see about 13 minutes left in this half. It is 2-0 for Froyo, but there's plenty of time for Ascent to make a comeback. Botmode and Habib both rolling out up top. Botmode's going to drop down early. Habib just playing his crate. We're going to see a really early bomb out of Blaze. Who's going to be trying to make some space for his team. He's going to go down. Jay's going to punish him for the really early bomb. Yamps is going to bomb out on the other team's catwalk as well, but he's not going to find anything. And Ascent is actually in the other team's garage. They're super aggressive. It looks like they were trying to chase Bane. Jay and Yite are actually going to be wrapping through Froyo's choke. Yamps is going to bomb in and find the lab. And Habib is going to get the pick onto Slemnish. Yamps is going to finish off Botmode in the garage area. And he's going to find Yite as well. Yamps is going to find Skis as well. Yamps down to 11 HP. They weren't able to take down Yamps and claimed 4 frags on that mid.
Yeah, playing in the opposing team's garage is kind of an interesting move, but what really caused them problems in that mid-fight was Skis stopping in the doorway to give Laz an arrow, and it meant that he was really exposed, and Yamps was able to drop a bomb in there and take down Laz without too much of an issue, drop damage into Slemnish, drop damage into Botnote, and finally Skis was taken down at the end there.
Yep, so we're going to see Froyo capping up on Ascent 2. They're gearing up. It looks like they're going to maybe go upper with this one. And we're going to see again with another big Uber advantage. We're going to see the Slemnish Engineer putting up a gun by the right side spawn door. We're going to see Skis in bot mode holding far back again. They're going to leave it up on top on Bandy. Going to find a lot of damage into Jay, who's going to make his way into... Habib's going to bomb in and find Slemnish and going to finish off the sentry gun. Botmode's going to get Habib. Botmode's going to find another one on the Bandy. Good defense coming out from Botmode. And Jay and Yite are going to claim Yamps and Blaze along with Eric. Yite claiming that one. It's just Nursey left. Nursey's going to go down to Yite. A big 3k out of Yite after the first 2 early picks out of bot mode. And Ascent's going to hold their last.
Yeah, you saw a really aggressive bomb out of Habib there, trying to get into the enemy team thick of it. Kind of similar to what he did last round. However, Yite had a sentry up that was able to stop him pretty easily, and it took most of his health trying to take it down.
Yep, so we're going to see Yamps in the forward spawn. Skis has a full advantage here. Yamps going to be spamming, getting a ton of damage into Jay in the garage area. Yamps is continuing to sit in the forward spawn. Banny is in deep as well, trying to find a pick onto Slemnick. Going to be pressuring in mid. Blaze is going to find Lad. Going to be able to surf out off the back of that one. And it looks like with Laz going down, it looks like Ascent just wants to regroup and yard, get healed. They still do have an Uber advantage. Nursey's only at about 45% while they're waiting for the Laz spawn. So Ascent does have the option to try and go. It looks like bot mode is gearing up by the chokes, just setting up some trap. Be kind of ashamed to see Ascent not push off this Uber red, just being one player down, but it looks like they're just going to be content with holding yard as Froyo gets to about 80% on their Uber.
Yeah, that Laz early death was unfortunate for Ascent, and at that point they just said, you know, we've read this book before, we've seen this, and it doesn't usually end well for us, so we should just kind of back off, get ourselves in a better position where we can at least combat comfortably. We know Froyo's not going to be pushing in immediately, and now we're seeing this second hold.
Yep, so we are going to see Froyo holding mid for the time being. Ascent is in their yard area. Froyo should be trying to make a play here shortly. Habibi actually eating a ton of damage in the garage area. It looks like Ascent is holding garage very, very aggressively with all 3 other spam classes in there, not giving Froyo any free space within the garage. But it looks like Froyo is going to finally be able to push in here off the back of getting Habib healed up. And we should see Froyo maybe trying to shove a player into left yard, trying to 1v1 Laz, or just a straight sack through the attic garage door. And we're going to see exactly that. Blaze is going to bomb in, get a nice first rocket into Skis, but Skis was about 85 HP, wasn't having any particular need to pop that one off. So we're going to see an opening for Ascent here to try and... Yite is just going to run in from the choke point. He's going to see Yamps and just back off on that one, with Blaze being close to getting his respawn.
Yeah, and we're just kind of playing a bit of a neutral game here. I expect to see, you know, another sack of some sort coming up from Froyo as Yamps does go straight in. Seem to have no particular thought to it, but that's kind of okay. We do see Laz going down in the counter sack, and now we may just want to see if either team comes up with some sort of off class. I wouldn't expect it on a point like this, but you never know when things can stalemate out.
Yeah, this is the ESEA Grand Final, so they might pull out any stomp that they can find. Looks like Yamps is just going to come up on his usual roll. Eric's actually going to run in on the left yard, going to be trying to take a 1v1 with the one of the Ascent Scouts, but they're going to bring the other Ascent Scout and the heals over. He's going to go down there. We aren't going to see any particularly aggressive play. Slemish is going to be prodding in the choke point, but he's not going to find much there. It doesn't look like Ascent's going to really take the opportunity to counter sack. We might see Eric come up on off class. He is kind of one of the off classers for Froyo. We'd probably see it out of either Eric or Yamps. Blaze is not really off class for Froyo that much. But Ski's actually eating a bunch of spam damage. We're going to see Yamps bombing in along with Blaze. I'm just going to find both of those frags, but they're going to get bot mode on the other side of things.
All right, sounds like we've had some production issues, so we got to be real audible, Nick. Okay.
All right. So we're going to be radio casting this one. Ascent is back out of yard, and Froyo's going to be claiming the yard for the time being. Eric's going to be in up top trying to pressure Ascent, who's just holding on the left side of the point from their perspective. Nobody's in from the shutter from the side of Froyo. It looks like Ascent is going to be holding to. Things are going to kind of stabilize here. Froyo's going to get their positioning in yard, meet up with Nursey, get healed up. We are going to see some proking and prodding from Habib and Eric from the Z and Shutter areas respectively, but Nursey's going to eat some fat damage from the players from Ascent, but Habib's going to get bot mode, and Eric is going to get Slemnish. Laz going to trade out the frag onto Eric, but 2 down on the side of Ascent, and Laz is down super weak. Yomps is going to take down Laz, and Manny's going to find Jay, so with 4 down on the side of Ascent, it's just going to be Skis and Yite, and Skis is going to get forced on. Yite's going to be looking for anything with his Uber, but they're just going to opt to back out, hold back to last. Slemnish is going to come up, Sniper, along with a spawn of the demo of bot mode, but Furio's going to be taking their Uber into last from the right side from their perspective. Habib's going to be bombing into the shutter door, while Ascent is rotating through the spawn. Banny's going to get the cap, and it's going to be a 3-0 half for Furio.
Yeah, we saw bot mode spamming in through the shutter door on second, hit a random pipe on the Nursey. However, the problem with that is that he got a little cocky. He wanted to try and clean up that damage, possibly force out the Uber, and in his hubris was actually caught out and killed. And then we saw Slemnish go down as well. We actually saw some very ballsy play coming out of Skis, going down to about 10 or 15 health. However, he decided to pop and then go back in.
Yep, so we're going to see the 3-0 half out of Furio. It was a pretty long half for the side of Ascent. I'm not sure exactly how long it was, but the second round was about 10 minutes along with a 3-minute first round. There was a decent amount of back and forth in the last one. What does Ascent need to be trying to change on the mid fights? I know the mids weren't really going Ascent's way in the beginning. I believe they claimed the last one, but for the most part, it looks like Furio claimed the first 2 mid.
Well, it seems like Froyo is a lot better about getting themselves set up on mid and getting comfortable with what they want to do and where they want to go. I don't want to necessarily say that Ascent doesn't know these things, but it seems like they're not doing it as well as Froyo. And I know it's a pretty tall order to say, oh, we'll do it better than Froyo, but they kind of need to maybe have a little more of a set goal, maybe move a little more together than what they're doing now at minimum if they want to try and turn this game around.
Yep. So we are going to see the halftime is going to be 3-0 for Furio. I'm trying to think of what Furio is doing particularly well. It just seems like at every avenue they're able to just find a stop and get either a player in behind and make Ascent go back, or they're just able to find a pick. Who are the kind of standout players on the side of Furio? What is going so right for Furio for these the transitions? What's making them the dominant force in NATF2 as of right now?
Well, it's funny that you ask that. There's one player on Froyo. You might have heard of him. His name is Banny, or as I call him, the old GV, and he's a real piece of work. He's an old chunk of coal who's been in this game for so long, and he's been doing it for so well that he just kind of knows what he's doing better than anyone else in this game, and he's able to direct his teammates to where they need to go. And it's what's been finding him the success for so long. He previously had a much different playstyle than what you see his teams in now, where you would see this incredibly slow play where he would force his teams to ease him in. But now you see him taking these aggressive brute force strategies as a way to try and make things happen in matches.
Yep, so while the teams are discussing their halftimes, I don't know if we want to take a peek at the stats, BILLDOZER. But I have them pulled up. Looks like it's pretty close for both of the teams in terms of damage and frag. We're going to see Slemnish is top fragging in the server at 16. It looks like Eric and Banny are kind of following at 15 and 13. Yite also at 13 frags. Jay at 12. So pretty even across the board for frags. Everybody's kind of in the double digits except for Laz, who's at 8. But he is playing the roaming soldier role, and his team is down 3-0, so we're gonna have to take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
For the most part, it doesn't look like there's any particularly poor standout stats. In terms of damage, nobody is again falling behind. I think the big standout one though is Habib is at 301. There was a little pause, so the damage is going to be a little bit lower than you would normally see, just because the added time from the pause where players actually can't do anything. And then in terms of medic, Skis has 7 deaths, whereas Nursey has 2. So it looks like, again, Nursey's staying a little bit alive more. But again, Froyo is winning 3-0.
Yeah, and to touch on the point of Laz, it can be incredibly difficult to play roamer when your team is getting beaten, especially when they're getting beaten kind of handily. And you see Blaze finding a lot more success in his gameplay, which makes it even more difficult for Laz. Trying to play roamer against a team that has its flanks locked down is it feels like you're being strangled. Really, it's kind of a visceral way to describe it, but it can be very difficult to try and find a way in. It can be very difficult to try and find something to do, and it can cause a lot of problems.
Yeah, also having to counter sack, especially when your team is on the back foot. Froyo has been in control for more of the map, and counter sacking can be very, very rough if you're not already in a position to go. So Laz is going to have less of a success chance with the counter sacks compared to whoever is making the initial sack play.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's just the roamer life. It'd be that way sometimes.
It do be like that though. You were asking me earlier who I think of has really been the star player for Froyo. Who do you think needs to step it up for Ascent? You think it's just Laz, or is there anyone else in particular that you think needs to kind of step up their game if you want to see things go a little better?
That's really hard to say. Like I said, from looking at the stats, it doesn't look like anybody's having a particularly poor game from the side of Ascent. I would say as a team in general, they think they need to be doing a better job at getting not forced by the Uber charges and getting better Ubers in comparison to Froyo. Because although in a lot of these scenarios, Froyo is finding a pick and they're able to just kind of roll it forward and not have to use their Uber, whereas they're getting a force out of Ascent after getting pick after pick and just rolling them back. I think in general, as a team, they just need to play a little bit tighter and not let Froyo do that, and kind of see what we saw Meat Market was doing the other day, where when they do lose a player, that they're looking to try and take an exchange to try and get that player in off the respawner and just take the Ubers out of the scenario first.
Yeah, I think you put that pretty well. As you see from the frag counts, both teams' DM is well on display here. They're both holding their owns. What you see out of Froyo is that they have this real momentum potential here. How they'll get a couple frags and suddenly they've pushed you to last. And there haven't really been any last holds here. You see Froyo get their last point available and they kind of just go right in. They don't wait for an opportunity as much as they try and make an opportunity, which is really an admirable thing that you can see out of these playoffs, because a lot of teams will try and play a little more slowly. They'll try and get a chance for them to go in. So seeing a team that's willing to step up and make it happen is good to see.
Indeed. So we're just waiting for the teams to ready up for the halftime here. It has been about 7 minutes or so in the halftime. Yeah, it's been about 7 minutes so far. So I don't know what the teams are discussing. I'm assuming it's not having a long team talk about all of the various issues that they're seeing from all the various perspectives and how to tackle that.
Yeah, I could only begin to imagine what they're talking about. I genuinely have no idea. But, if I had to say anything to them in particular, it'd be, you guys need to do a little better, because what you're doing now isn't particularly working.
Just do better, Forehead. Words of advice.
Just click on the bodies, man. How hard can it be?
Yeah, just click on them. Just shoot the floor as soldier, Forehead. Just play the game. But yeah, it is a tough ask for Ascent to be coming up against. They are a pretty new roster this season. They do have played together previously in different iterations of the team. But we do see a couple newcomers on the side of Ascent, such as Jay and Skis. I believe this is the first time Skis has made it past the first round of playoffs. I think he did a few seasons ago with a Meat Market of old. And I believe this is Jay's first time making invite playoffs, if I'm correct. I'd have to double check on that one, but I believe that is the case for Jay. Because he played for Black Swan previously, and then he's played on a couple other invite teams that I can't think of off the top of my head. But yeah, we are seeing a lot of success, I think, just from like the raw players from the side of Ascent. We also see bot mode's kind of new to demo on this roster, so the fact that they've made it this far with a player who's never played demo in ESEA and 2 players who are newer to the upper echelons of invite is pretty impressive in my book.
Yeah, they've done very well, and it just goes to show the quality of talent that we have here in the TF2 community. It's not just any team that you can say, hey, you're playing a role that you've never played before, and also we're going to get, top 2 in the playoffs. It's not something that's easy to say, and it's not something that you can easily expect someone to be able to pull off.
So, and on the other side of things too, especially up against an opponent like Froyo, who's been dominant for so long, I think with a team like Ascent, if they stay together for a season or two, I think we would see an especially close finals. Maybe in later seasons. I mean, it is only 3-0 on map 1 for Ascent. And Froyo has been fairly dominant so far, but Ascent also is kind of a second half team from what we've seen in previous casts and previous times they've played. I know the last time they played Froyo, they actually had, I'm sorry, 2 times ago when they played Froyo, when they played on Gully Wash, they had a pretty big upset of a 3-0 half against Froyo, and Froyo was able to make some adaptations at the halftime and take it back to win the game 5-3. But Ascent is a second half team along with Froyo, so it'll be interesting to see what changes, especially too because the server chat is suggesting that Ascent is the one waiting to ready up, that see what Ascent changes along with what Froyo changes.
Yeah, it'll be real exciting to see. Wish I was better at small talk, but
Indeed, I did not come as prepared because we do have the analysis desk, but I was expecting the halftime to be a little bit shorter. But at the end of the 10 minutes here, we are going to see Skis ready up, and we are going to be going live with our second half. Who are the players to watch on the mids for the second half here, Bill?
well, you know, you kind of got to figure out if you want to follow a player who has doing well or follow a player who has not. And I think in this situation, Ascent's the one who needs to step up. I want to see what Laz does.
So we are going to be paying specific attention to Laz on this mid. We're going to see both demos rolling out to mid, about arriving at the same time. Both are rolling out their catwalk, along with the rest of Ascent rolling out their catwalk. We're going to see a high bomb early out of Laz. Going to be making some space for his team, just drawing eyes. Going to be collecting his own. Habib is going to find a really early pick onto Jay. We're going to see the soldiers jumping from Froyo. Bot mode is going to take Yomps, and Eric is going to get. But Slemnish and Banny are, Slemnish and Yite are going to claim Banny and Nursey. Eric is going to get Slemnish on the other side of things, but Skis, Bot Mode, and Yite are all alive for the side of Ascent. Eric is going to be coming in from their choke. They're going to get the pick onto Bot Mode with the help of Habib. So the 2v2 here, Yite and Skis versus Habib, and Eric is going to get a pipe onto Skis, and he's going to end up cratering off the back of the pistol damage from Eric. But Yite is going to clean up Eric and Habib to win out the mid for Ascent.
Yeah, things were looking very good for Ascent in the early parts of that mid. You know, you saw some great bombs come out of Jay, not getting a whole lot of damage, but he got a lot of distraction for Laz to follow up on, and they almost lost that mid when Eric flanked all the way around into Ascent's second point, and he came around the back. He was able to get Skis, he was able to finish off Bot Mode, but Yite was able to pull that fight out for them.
Yeah, winning out the scrappy DM fight in the end, Ascent is going to claim the mid. They do have about a 40% Uber to advantage with the very late death of Skis. Nursey went down very early in the mid. So Froyo is going to be gearing up to try and push into mid with this Uber advantage. Nursey coming up on Uber right about now. We're going to see a pretty standard mid hold out of the side of Ascent. Both the soldiers playing their high ground while the scouts are playing in a passive positioning with Skis ready to leave. Froyo is going to be trying to come in from the garage area. It looks like they're trying to go from straight garage. Both the soldiers from Ascent are taking a ton of damage into Banny and Habib. They're going to be stalling out this push, and it looks like they're trying to bait it out. Laz is actually going to get a pick onto Banny. Both the soldiers are going to come in from choke for Froyo, but it looks like Froyo is just going to back off. He's just coming up on his Uber, and with 2 down for Froyo, this is an opportunity for Ascent to try and take yard for Froyo.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be on Froyo to try and get some sort of force out here, whether you want to leave that up to Eric or Yomps is up to them. But Ascent have themselves a real opportunity here as Yomps actually takes down Jay, who is left alone by the rest of his combo when he tried to take a little bit of ground in garage. As you find Froyo pushing in now, using the Uber to pop Skis. You see Yomps getting Laz on the flank, and Ascent are actually being forced out of mid when they originally had two-person advantage on Froyo.
Yeah, really good play from Froyo. Habib got an early pick on the Slumnich with a sticky trap, and then Yomps is able to progressively find both of the soldiers through the transition and that exchange. And so what turned out for originally 2 players down for Froyo ended up being a 3-player advantage staggered over time. So Froyo is going to claim mid, and Eric is going to go down in the garage area. Banny's going to get bot mode, however, and Yomps is going to be jumping in on the skis. Going to find a nice 2 rockets to take him down. Yite is going to go down to Banny in the garage area as well. So with 3 down on the side of Ascent, being bot mode, Skis, and Yite, it's just going to be the 2 soldiers and Slumnich maybe trying to make a play on Nursey, but Froyo's going to get 2 off the back of this for sure.
Yeah, Froyo applying that strong, focused spam into specific areas to try and wear players down or force players out. And, they were able to get some early picks, and it just meant that their soldiers could bomb in freely.
Yep, so we are going to see Ascent gearing up to repel the uber advantage push from Froyo. They're going to have the pretty standard gun on the right side from their perspective, and Slemnish is going to be on scout. He was on sniper for a small period of time, but he's decided to switch off and just build with skis for the time being. Looks like he's going back to spawn. Nope, he's going to be playing on the pipe with Lat. So we're going to see Froyo on to just... Nursey is going to be climbing so they don't have to go around to the lunchbox area. It looks like Banny, Habib, and Blaze are geared up around the upper. Habib's actually going to fall down, so it's going to be a Banny solo Uber in from the upper area. Yams is going to try and come in to help Banny out, but I think Habib getting juggled down and falling down is going to end this push before it even starts for Froyo. They're going to find the gun, but that's all they're going to find, and Skis is at 95% already, going to be coming up on his Uber shortly.
Yeah, they had a good idea there, and I liked what they were going for, but, mechanically they just failed to execute it the way that they needed to. They were only able to get out of that doorway with Banny, and it meant that they didn't have any of the firepower that they needed to try and push in.
Yep, and so Ascent's going to be taking their Uber in from the top area. Froyo was tentatively holding in the shutter area, but it looks like Ascent isn't really going to find anything with this Uber. Froyo's going to do a really good job of scattering. Habib's actually going to find the first frag of this push, going to be getting the pipe kill on this Slem. And Laz going to be eating a bunch of damage in the upper area. Laz is actually going to get the frag onto Banny before, and Jay's actually going to find Habib as well, so 2 down for the side of Froyo, despite getting the first pick on that. And Nursey's about to be up on her Uber here. So Ascent has to be wary despite the fact they are trying to push into Froyo.
Yeah,
and Froyo's just going to be taking their Uber back in. Eric going to be taking it in from the Z area. They're going to find Yite in the right side shutter. And so it looks like they're going to get the pick onto Laz as well. Jay and is going to find the pick onto Blaze and Eric, but Eric is going to get skis before going down. Nursey and Banner are going to be taking this post fight. They're going to be cleaning up all the frags. Botma's going to put the pick onto Nursey, but Froyo is going to win out the scrappy DM fight, claiming another round. It's going to be 4-0 for the side of Froyo.
Yeah, what you saw there was just an example of some superior DM on display. We saw Slemnish go down to an important arrow from Nursey. She hit a great shot that was able to keep an important fragger for Ascent out of that fight. And then finally, you just saw Banny and Habib close it out there.
Yep, so we're going to be going into our 5th mid. Botmode and Habib both running up top again. Botmode's going to be fast to drop down. Both of Ascent scouts going to be playing up top. We're going to see a really big double soldier bomb out of the side of Ascent. They're going to be landing on the other team's catwalk while the rest of the team comes forward. Blaze is going to get Laz, and we're going to see the counter jump out of Blaze high into the air. Jay is going to go down as well, and Yite to follow. It looks like the double soldier bomb not quite paying off for Ascent. They were able to get into Froyo's space, but Froyo was just able to play their positioning and play the defender's advantage. They were able to get 3 on the side of Ascent. Froyo's going to claim the mid. They're already into yard, and it looks like they're trying to go into the lunchbox area. They're going to be pressuring into 2 from Z. They're going to find some good damage into bot mode, but they don't have mid capped yet. Banny's going to get Slamish, but Botmo's going to trade it out. Going to be punishing Banny for his really aggressive play. And it looks like Yumps and Co are just going to be storming into 2 off the back of this mid-win. Ascent not able to punish Yumps, and it looks like Froyo's going to be capping up 2 off the back of not even that dominant of a mid-win.
Yeah, and it's clear that they're just trying to close this out now as we see Blaze go in and drop skis. Habib supplying some outward damage. A huge play for froyotech that's going to allow them to immediately come in with the Uber and possibly close out this map.
Yep, it's just going to be the 2 scouts for the side of Ascent, and they're both going to get claimed by Banny and Habib playing field. It's going to be a 5-0 map 1 for froyotech.
Wow. You want to get some analysts in here and they can talk about this?
Yep, I think between the 2 maps would be a good time to bring in our analyst.
Could be in between 3 maps, possibly. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Oh,
good. Good to hear.
So what did we see on map 1? What went so right for Froyo, and what went so wrong for Ascent?
Yeah, so the first thing that I kind of want to talk about is the pace that Ascent is playing at is just entirely different from what Froyo is at. Froyo is just offering up so much pressure, and anytime that Ascent can find themselves in a situation where they have some sort of advantage, they're just they're taking it really slowly, and they're just kind of, I don't know, walking towards the goal, and not really having any kind of I don't know, faster pace. It's just so slow that any advantage they do have just dwindles away within a matter of seconds. So
I do want to say a couple things about like a lot of Ascent's post Ubers. they played a lot of different situations where flashing more people and also not even the times where they've had better Ubers, not also opting to send players behind, focusing down certain people. They gave up a lot of, like what May was saying, a lot of or also positioning on top of their pace. They weren't playing fast enough in the situations would have made sense to play faster in their post Ubers, and that gave them a lot of ground. Or especially on there was a fight on 2 in specific where they blatantly had a better Uber than Froyo. It was a beautiful solo. Players took flashes and Froyo was on their back foot by the shutter, but they didn't actually just continue to aggress and lock them out of the doors and have their flank try to pressure from the other side of the map. They had as much time in the world to pressure from the right side, but no one really took the post repositioning and made anything happen out of it in a lot of different fights. I'd probably say like 3 or 4 of them. I honestly could have been converted to rounds, or if not, last pushes.
And the point I was watching the flank mostly throughout the entire first map, and I think the way that you definitely beat Froyo is by exploiting their flank. Like Blaze and Eric definitely were just able to find these really, really good engagements. When you have Yomps, Banny, and Habib in your combo, if you commit any of your flanks resources, like their health and ammo, to doing damage or trying to follow up on damage on those players, if you kill one of their explosive classes, they still have the other, and then they have Banny, and it's Granary. You know, you only need 2 of those players. So if you're doing Laz, you know, it's gonna high bomb, do something off of Slimnish's damage. Slimnish is obviously like a huge source, like a damage and pressure. And you're allowing Blaze and Eric to get these really good engagements on the flank. That's just like not how you're gonna beat Froyo, especially on Granary. Like on Granary, like you're gonna try to expose their flank, get these plays behind, like get these scrappier fights where you're focusing down players that are kind of isolated. And yeah, I think Ascent was just not taking the map the right way. I think that's part of just Yite isn't really a Granary player, for sure, and I just think it showed throughout that entire first map.
That was pretty well put. Before, during halftime specifically, we talked about how Laz in particular was having a bit of a tough time. As if you look at the stats, he ended the map at 11 and 21, which can be a little rough for a roamer. We understand that it can be very difficult playing against a flank like froyotech, but is there anything that you think Laz could have done differently?
I don't necessarily think that it was entirely Laz's fault. He was a little bit mistimed in some of. Well, I don't want to say mistimed. He was not in the same pace as the rest of his team, or maybe his team wasn't in the same pace as him. But a lot of the situations he was actually dying in, like that high death rate, that's actually because Skis just died so much more than Nursey, and Laz just had to make so many plays try to happen. Just in the most obvious times when you know Laz is going to go for a play. That's like one of the biggest things about Laz is he's pretty predictable in that sense about like when he's going to make the play. But it's just how he's going to make it that you really have to watch out for.
I do want to add on one thing. Just like the playmaking in terms of both the flanks. Eric had a lot more freedom to do what he wanted. And in situations where like...
Your mic?
Oh, is it fucking up?
Yeah, fix your mic, buddy.
Oh, apologies. Is that better?
Yes.
Alright, so like a lot of the times Eric is able to get behind almost for free. Like especially in that first, it was better in the second half. I'll give them that. They definitely fixed a lot of the issues with the flank in the second half than the first half. But Eric was playing extraordinary. He was making plays. He was getting multiple kills in team fights. Granted, Froyo's doing a decent amount of damage, but Ascent's flank needs to also be able to track. Like if Eric's able to get behind these situations, either Yite or Laz need to be able to keep eyes on Eric and kind of keep him on that mental timer if he goes behind. That's the biggest thing that a lot of players that are up and coming try to do is they never keep track of the players that attempt to go behind. If you don't keep your eye on them, Eric is going to thrive off that when you're not in the correct position, and it showed in the first half. They got completely outplayed by Blaze. Not even really by Blaze. Blade didn't really do much as I thought to, especially on Granary. He didn't really do as much as I thought he would. But Eric, in my opinion, is probably the MVP of that, and probably the MVP of that map with how many plays he made. He did incredible.
Well, and that actually is a good segue into what I would like to bring up is that when AIM played with Yite on Swift, he had a high. He really thought he was good, for lack of a better word. Because he was the one making those kinds of plays. You know, he would be the one getting behind, causing pressure, getting these like big 3Ks, you know, just like hitting these like mid-range meat shots on low players. That's where Yite thrives. And I think that they just kind of taking the backseat because all the pressure that Frey's combo is able to put out, and it being Granary, you know, you can just put out so much damage as Habib or Yomps in such a like, quick amount of time that you're kind of forcing Laz to not be able to like stop Eric and not allow like that's kind of also Laz's job to give Yite space to do the things that Eric was doing, and Blaze was able to do that for them, you know?
Yes. Well, talking about fights that Ascent are comfortable in gives us a perfect segue into our second map. It is Ascent's pick, and they went with Product. What do you think they're trying to, line up for themselves that's more in their favor as opposed to regular, maybe 5 CP map?
It's definitely the fact that froyotech is extremely beatable on this map, in my opinion. I have had history of playing against them on this map, especially, and it's way easier playing against them on this map than it is on others. And a few reasons for that: Habib, in certain situations, overextends, like especially when they already have the control point. He tries to make certain things happen. I'm not sure if he still does this, but it certainly was the case. But he seems to get himself overextended in certain situations, and then he has to get bailed out by either like Banny or Eric, something like that. But Yomps is back on this team. That is going to be a huge factor in this map. Yomps is a very good Viaduct soldier. He doesn't play like a roaming kind of style on Viaduct, actually. He plays relatively close to the combo, and he does a very good job of it. I'm expecting a lot of really good plays out of Eric, and I expect Slimnish to pop off this map, honestly.
You guys talk about Laz? Did we talk about Laz yet?
Not yet.
Let me tell you, Laz is, in my opinion, by far the best Viaduct roamer in the world. He has some of the best timing, some of the best death matching, some of the best mechanics when it comes to Viaduct Soldier. I've played with him firsthand, played against him firsthand. It's fun on one way, not the other, when you're getting slammed by him. But Laz, I'm expecting to do absolutely huge things for Ascent. This is the map that they can take for you to map 3 on. This is the one. This is the map that probably, in my opinion, Yite's best at. Probably, in my opinion, with Slemnish, the 2 best DM scouts in the server. Yite and Slemnish have amazing death matching. But Laz is going to be, keep your eye on him, because he's going to make some of the best plays this entire map.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Sambas. Like he said, Laz and Yite, they're both pretty good Viaduct players. And, I do think on the other end, Habib might be able to exploit Ascent's combo. Just Bama not being as experienced of a demo man, and it being Viaduct, Habib might just be an unstoppable force on this map, which is what I'm worried about going into this. But at the same time, like I said, the way you beat Froyo is definitely by exploiting their flank. And if Laz and Yite are going to do that, it should be on Viaduct. It's an upset map, as time will tell. So yeah, hopefully it should be a good match.
All right, good to know. That will put our player to watch for this map as Laz, having a bit of a rough performance in the first map, trying to make some sort of a comeback. As we do have 6 players in the server, as Yite joins Team Spectator, we should be seeing them go live sooner rather than later. Nick, are you there?
I am here, yes.
All right. Is there anything in particular that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think, like, I don't know if it was mentioned at all, but I think, from what I heard, it does sound like Ascent is kind of favored on this map, if bot mode is able to show up, and it's kind of what I was talking about when they played Meat Market yesterday, where if bot mode's able to show up and both their scouts are on and they're playing around him, then I think that's kind of where you're gonna see Ascent thrive, and I think this is gonna be the map to do it on. So if they're able to really play their game on this map, I think we'll see Ascent thrive in comparison to Froyo.
No, and we actually, at the analyst desk, we did talk about, during the last map, how the next map was going to be Viaduct, and that, this is the map's 5th beat when Yomps left Froyo and played with Shade and Badonsky. This is the map where bot mode and all these players beat them, and kind of killed that team almost. So,
Yep.
They do have the tools to pull this one out.
Also, keep a lookout for some of the sniper plays too. You have Slemnish, who's you honestly have an option to switch up the team combo. I don't know if it might be worth it in the long run, But you could always throw Slumnish on sniper and Laz on
Yeah,
scout.
I will say really quick, Slumnish is fucking cracked. Slumnish is a cracked sniper.
Yeah.
I will say that right now.
I don't know if anyone watched season 28 of IM Grand Finals, but Slumnish played when he had his little off-classing experience. He probably played some of like the best Viaduct sniper I've ever seen. Like
It was
in NA.
really, it was disgusting to watch. The
It
fact
was
that it
not
immediate.
fair. It wasn't fair.
But Trip did win. Trip won.
But
No,
regardless.
Trip lost.
But yeah, I want to see some sniper plays. I want to see Laz air shot people. I want to see Banny lose. But you can't ask for too many things.
I will say that these last couple rounds of the playoffs have been a little scant as far as sniper plays go, and seeing some real crowd pleasers here in this map would be good to see.
Yeah, but
Well, yeah.
the little sniping we have seen in playoffs, though, Slumnish has been absolutely insane. I believe it was when they played Chaos Control on Propaganda. Slumnish had a nice little 3K at the very end of the map where I think he got both of the scouts. He got like a really nice headshot onto... I'm trying to think of which were the scouts it was, and then he got the sniper v sniper versus Alpha, and then I believe got the other scout on Chaos Control, and they basically won the map off the back of that. So again, we haven't seen a ton of sniping for this series of playoffs, but what we have seen from Slumnish has been crazy.
Well, and you also, I would just like to say, you can't sleep on Eric. Like, he's gonna be feeling himself after that first map. He really had a good map there. And he's, he showed that he can snipe before, so.
And I believe it was last season, or one of the previous iterations of Froyo where we did see Eric snipe, and we have seen Yomps come over to scout. It couldn't have been last season because Yomps was not on the team. But I believe it was a couple seasons ago we did see Froyo try that a little bit.
Yeah.
So, and we also have seen Yomps snipe on this map as well. Yomps is also a pretty good sniper. Maybe not to the same degree as Slumnish, but you can't write off Yomps as a player to sleep on in sniper.
On any class.
Yeah, on any class.
Yeah, I gotta say
if they put him on scout, it might be something to see.
The prospect of Yomp swapping back over to scout for a map is pretty horrifying for anybody looking for an Ascent win here. Those of you that are relatively new to the scene should know that Yomps was one of the best scouts in the region, if not the world, before he made this swap over to Soldier, which he has been thriving on. The man is jack of all trades, as it were.
I'll say, I think no matter what role you put Yomps on, he will thrive. I'll say, like, when Froyo has pug scrim teams and they put him on demo, we've even seen him pound on demo, so...
So, yeah.
We are just waiting for the teams to ready up. We do have 12 in the server we have for a decent amount of time. It looks like everybody on the side of Froyo is ready, from what I've seen, so I think we're just waiting on a couple more players from Ascent to ready up. Maybe just working out some last few strategies for their map pick, making sure that they got this one ready and to take and put it in the bag. Take Froyo to a map 3.
All right, well, as long as we got a second, I got a question for you analyzers. What's up with the lock and load on Gully Wash?
That's actually pretty easy to explain. The timing on that map is such that you can just spam the big door, like, before the medic even gets there, and about, like, 50% of the time, you're pretty much guaranteed to hit the medic, and a lot of the time, you can actually snipe the medic. If the medic's not prepared for it, you can kind of destroy him.
Yeah, you can juggle them if you hit them in, like, the shins.
Yeah,
it's
that
very
weapon
common.
that weapon in general, I would say, is more of a medium to long range weapon, as opposed to the pipes that are more of a close range weapon.
Mid. With the Iron Bomber rollers. Like, Iron Bomber rollers, you can really just spam them and choke sometimes.
For sure. But the way that Gully Wash is kind of, like, spaced out, especially for the demo man positioning, the lock and load is just so good, especially for that map.
Yeah, we saw May or the other May, MAE May, and Saigai were both running it. Various times they were playing on Gully Wash, and we weren't exactly sure why. I had never seen it, at least from the times that I've played. Like IM teams, I had never seen it, so it was kind of an enigma to both Bill and I.
Hedgehog Hero rocks that thing, dude. He's gonna terrify him next season with the lock and load. It's gonna make a comeback, dude. Throughout the game, I promise.
Well, I gotta say thank you for explaining that. That is kind of a higher level of strategy that you're seeing out of players, and seeing stuff like getting down specific timings and things like that has always been something I love to see in esports. It just adds that extra cerebral level that goes beyond mechanical skill, that goes beyond team tactics, and it's just those little things that you can do to try and
Right.
engineer yourself an advantage.
Right. And it goes even deeper because then the medic has to compensate for it at the same time. And then there has to be counter compensation. So it's a whole mind game.
Yeah, especially
Alright.
too on gully mid, where if you're delaying in big door, it can be really easy to get caught as medic.
Especially from a double bomb.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that was one of the things we saw out of Meat Market is that Psy was running it to mid, and then we saw a really aggressive double bomb out of Burking and Ash. And so I was kind of like, again, I didn't really know like what the meta was with the lock and load, but that would actually make a lot of sense because we saw that several mids in a row. And I also didn't really piece it together that both Mei and Saiga were running it on exclusively Gully Wash. I just remember seeing it and being like, why are they running lock and load? Everybody runs Iron Bomber in 2019.
Well, May does it on other maps, but it's really bad on other maps. Anyways, I think we are about to go live soon. Jay is in the server and on a team. We should see them ready up sometime soon.
Yeah, we're kind of hoping that they do. It has been
Let's say,
a
we
little
did
bit of
see
a wait
Jay
here.
Ready up a couple times and unready a couple times, then he timed out, and now he's back in the server after crashing, so can't imagine there's too many more reasons for a delay. I don't know if we want to run down predictions to try and flush out a little bit more time, but it looks like we are getting a couple more readies up. Question mark.
Yeah, let's go through some predictions real quick. What do you guys on the analyst test have to think is going to happen?
Pretty convincing for froyotech. Oh, we're going live. Pretty convincing. I'm going to say 4-2.
I'm gonna give 4-3 to Ascent because I love fun.
4-1.
Yeah,
Four?
so we're gonna see.
For who?
We're about to go live.
Froyo.
All right.
I'll
we're
leave the
gonna
channel. Goodbye.
Yeah, we're gonna go back to the game at hand here.
Yep, so we're going to see the teams ready up. We are going to be going into our first mid here on Proto. We are going to see fairly cookie cutter out of both teams here. No sniper shenanigans out of either team. We're going to see both teams rolling out to mid. We're going to see a really early bomb out of Blaze going to be going behind the other team, while Yams is jumping in deep early. Habib is going to get the first frag of the mid onto Skis. Bot mode's going to follow. Yams is going to go down the side of Froyo, but it looks like it's going to be a Froyo mid here. Froyo cleaning up the front. It's just Jay and Slumnish. Slumnish is just out. And so, with Yomps being the only death for froyotech, we are going to see a very convincing mid out of Froyo to start off Riot.
Yeah, Froyo had a plan. They executed it brilliantly. The only person you saw go down was Yomps, who was, supposed to go down in that bomb. And now we're going to see them maybe trying to set up a forward hold here. But Ascent is going to be very fast about it, and they're going to try and get out on this left side by the hill before they can really establish themselves.
Yep, and Nursey is going to go down to bot mode, so it looks like almost like a sack attempt out of Ascent. They push out on the cliff. We saw Blaze going behind, had a really good chance to get in on the Skis, but he was not able to find the frag on that one. Skis was able to live and play with the rest of his team, and then the rest of Ascent that came out on the cliff side was able to get Nursey, and so Ascent is just going to be able to push with their heal advantage. Skis does have about a 45% advantage here, so we're probably going to see a 4-man sack out of the side of Furry. Jay's going to get the pick on the Banny on cliff and is able to jump. Blaze is going to bomb in as well, not going to find anything. Yomps is going to jump in, try and find Ski, but with all their sacks coming up fruitless, and Ascent is going to hold on to the point, and again, they do have an uber advantage.
Yeah, and you're seeing Ascent manage these sacks really well as they do get Habib on the hill on the left. As players are just flooding in, trying to see if they can find a way to force out Nursey. We hear soldier bombs coming in on the left as they're actually trying to get Laz. But as I said, Ascent's managing it very well, and it looks like they're going to keep anything too crazy from happening.
Ascent is still holding on to their Uber. There was a demo exchange on the cliff. Ascent was trying to transition to a forward hold, but Furry was able to get in before they were able to hold on to it. Yomps is going to get the pick onto Laz. Nursey's about 85% on their Uber, and Furry is edging the point here, so a ton of damage into Jay. Bandy is going to clean up that one, but Yomps and Eric going to go down getting the picks. Ascent's going to have a much worse Uber here. The exchange is going to be on the point. Habib's going to be bombing, going to find a nice pipe to finish off Ski's bot mode to follow, but Slamish is going to get Nursey on the other side of this thing. He's going to get Blaze as well. Laz is going to come in and clean up Habib, and what looked like a really good Uber from Froyo turned into a really good post fight from Ascent.
Yeah, and that is proof of what our analysts were talking about earlier. You see Slemnish circling around this house, circling around China, and coming back up as Froyo Ubers. I think Froyo realized that, and they decided their solution was to just push straight forward. But you saw him take down Habib, you saw him take down Nursey, and it was a plan that went really well for them.
Yep, and Furyo is already back in onto the point. They are going to cap it off. Ascent was able to get a minute and a half off of that first cap. Furyo about a minute on their side. Bot mode is going to pipe down Habib, and it looks like Ascent is just going to be re-aggressing off the back of that. Eric is going to get a pick in onto Jay. Yomps is in on the back line. It's going to be 1v1ing Slappish. Eric is going to get Laz, who is trying to get in onto Furyo's grass, but he's going to go down. Slamish is eventually going to clean up Yomps here. Both soldiers are down for both teams as Slamish gets to pick onto Blade. Ascent was able to recap up on the point, so there's going to be a slight spawn disadvantage, but again, it is even numbers here, as Laz and Yomps are going to get their spawns. They're going to see an exchange in onto the point. It's going to be Skis and Slamish popping that one up. Lots of flashes on the side of Furyo. You're going to see Laz trying to bomb in. He's going to get in onto Habib, but he's going to go down shortly, and it looks like Skis and Nursey are both going to go down, so it's just going to be a very scrappy DM fight. It looks like Furyo is delaying their cap of the point. They're trying to wait for that Nursey spawn. Jay is in onto the two soldiers on the grass for the side of froyotech. Blaze and Yomp are there. Yite is going to get in. They're going to get the pick onto Blaze. Is going to be pistoling down. Yomp's going to get that one. The Yite is down to just 3 HP. Slamish is going to go down on the other side of things, trading out for the Habib, getting some self-damage there. And it looks like it's just Banny and Nursey in onto the point. They're going to be waiting for their spawns to go before trying to finish off the cap. But we're going to see a bunch of spawns in from the side of us. Banny's going to go down. Nursey's in a little bit of danger. Going to meet up with Eric here. And Blaz is going to bomb in, find Blaze. And it's just going to see Froyo relegated while they're going to wait for their spawn of Banny.
Yeah, and we're still seeing some beautiful focus fire coming out of Ascent. They know who's coming in. They have great vision on their team, on the enemy team, and more importantly, we see Slemnish and Yite playing together like a team. They are tearing through froyotech as you see them taking 1v2s, 1v3s. We do see Yite and Slemnish both go down there, and that is the main source of damage for Ascent. They're going to have to back out, as we see now. froyotech has another 2 minutes to burn through before they can really cap out this point, whereas Ascent is already down to overtime.
And we are going to see even Ubers here. Froyo is transitioning to a forward hold of their own, but it looks like Ascent is going to be able to break it really easy. They're actually going to get a force out of Nursey as well. A really good job. Slamish is going to go down to Banny. He's going to drop him there, but a way better Uber on the side of Ascent. They are going to get a bot mode in exchange for Habib, and Banny is going to go down as well, so it's even numbers here. Slamish is going to be coming up on the respawner as Froyo holds the point. So they're going to have longer spawns, but Yomps is going to get in and find two. He's going to find Laz and Skis. Blaze is getting Yite on the other side of things. And Eric is going to claim the frag onto Jay. What looked like a pretty good scenario for Ascent with having the spawn advantage. Turned out to be a really good fight for Furyo as they were just coordinated and they were able to clean up the remnants of Ascent who were just hanging around the point.
Yeah, really good flank play out of Banny, who ducked back into the Ascent spawn real quick, and he was able to come out just as Skis' Uber was fading, as Ascent is now going to try and re-engage here.
Yep, so we are going to see Nursey with about a 40% advantage. Ascent is trying to make some space for their team to get forward. Laz is going to be bombing into both of the soldiers from Froyo, but he's actually just going to strafe back around, getting it onto Nursey. Bomba's going to find that one. 3 down for the side of Ascent. We're going to see Slemnish going to get out Yomps, and he's going to get Habib as well. Big plays from Slemnish off the back of that 4-man sack. So Ascent is going to be back to their spawn. Banny's in on the Skis into the spawn here. Skis is down to just 1 HP. Banny's going to clean it up. Banny with the huge plays getting Skis in their spawn, but Fro is only 2 up on the other side of things. It is just Blaze and Eric while they're waiting for the rest of their spawns to come in. Ascent has to get in and try and get this cap now before Fro gets their spawns in. They're getting the cap time, but the spawns are going to come in from Fro. Lots of damage in onto Yomps. Yomps is going to find the first frag onto Yite. Bot mode's going to be the next one to follow from Eric. Jay's going to trade it out though, and it's going to be just a really scrappy DM fight. It's just Laz in onto the point. Skis is going to be trying to fight the entirety of froyotech. Is going to go down, and it looks like it's going to be out. Despite the really good lead from Ascent, Froyo is going to be taking this first round.
Yeah, that was pretty unfortunate, and just a pretty big beef out of the Ascent explosive classes, as Skis didn't really have any business dying there. And if he had lived with that, 40-50% Uber advantage, we could have possibly seen them being the victors of that first round here.
Indeed, so we are going to see Froyo up 1-0. Ascent had a really close round with them though, so it could have gone either way. Just came down to that one last fight. We're going to see the double soldier bomb. Both of the soldiers from Froyo flying high. Yomps and Blaze both on the other team's grass. Going to be circling back around. Nursey is going to go down really early. Bot mode's going to go down on the side of Ascent, but Skis and Yite to follow. Blaze and Habib picking up those ones, and Banny's going to pistol down Laz on the back line. Eric is going to get the pick onto Slemish. It is just Jay for the side of Ascent. He's getting chased down by Banny. He's just going to jump out, get the pack below his cliff, and meet up with the spawn from his team. Again, another mid win for froyotech.
Yeah, we saw some really aggressive bombs coming out of froyotech there, as people just speed shotting off of Skis' head, which was really fortunate as they put a lot of damage into him and allowed themselves to get out. Saw Skis actually hitting some great surfs, but the rockets from froyotech were too strong.
Yep, so we're going to see a lot of aggression out of Froyo, not giving Ascent a ton of room to work with, but Froyo's going to eat a bunch of damage. They're going to back up. Ascent is going to finally make their way up to the point. They're going to start trying to edge the cap out. It is a slight Uber advantage for Nursey, about a 13-14% advantage there. Again, Ascent is just trying to cap it out. Yom's going to be bombing in onto bot mode, but he's not going to find that one. Banny is going to go down as well. So 2 down on the side of Froyo. They're going to be backing up. Nursey is eating a bunch of damage as well, but is going to meet up with the rest of her team. He's going to get the health pack onto Grat, and it looks like it's going to be a cap here for Ascent, while both teams are coming up on their Uber charges.
Yeah, and this is a valuable opportunity for Ascent. I think it would be worthwhile to press the point, as Nursey actually takes a lot of damage, deciding to pop early, and then Skis is able to pop as well. A lot of damage actually going into Ascent, their health getting a little low, but as this Uber fades, you're going to find that the first pick is going to them, Nursey's going to go down as well, and things are probably going to end in their favor.
We're going to see 3 down on the side of froyotech. Ascent is very, very weak. Laz is going to go down for Ascent. Bomb mode is very weak, but they're going to get arrowed up by Ski. Ascent does hold the point, so they are at a spawn advantage. Froyo is going to get their spawners in, so they are going to be 6 up. Yite is going to go down late along with Jay. Eric claiming both of those frags. Really nice frags coming up from him. Bomber is going to get the frag onto Habib before going down himself. Eric claiming another one. Blaze is going to get Skis on the backside, however, bombing into Cliff. He's able to get that one. Flamish is going to kill Blaze, but the damage is done. Nursey is up for Froyo, and Froyo is just storming forward, not giving Ascent any room to try and make a counterplay to Nursey.
Yeah, I tried to make a little bit of a prediction there, tried to assume how that fight was going to go, but I didn't really assume the Froyo's better option.
Yep, so we're going to see the whole of projectile classes bombing in for the side of Ascent. They're going to be looking for a pick onto Nursey. Tons of damage across the board for Froyo. Blaze is going to be the only one to die, and it's just going to be Slamnish and Skis building in spawn, as they are at about a 40% Uber disadvantage.
Yeah, we're going to see what kind of hold Froyo wants to set up here. Froyo still have about a 30% advantage, so it's going to be a little bit of time before Ascent is actually able to try and push out, but the way that they want to crack this is going to be very important, as any first kills such as that one onto Yomps are very important, although Jay does go down in return, giving Froyo
really nice.
a one-person advantage.
A really nice rocket coming out of Jay, able to pick Yomps. They're able to break the forward hold off the back of that, and they were able to get a force out of Nursey, and Skis still is holding on to his Uber. And Ascent is going to be Ubering in out of the point. They're going to be chasing down Habib. Habib going to be the first one to go down. Bomba jumping in, going to eat a ton of damage. And it looks like just off the pack of... but both the soldiers from Froyo are going to bomb in. It looks like Froyo is kind of making a sack attempt out of the end of this, knowing that they're going to give up the point and have to get the faster respawners. Both the scouts are going to make their way out for froyotech, but we did see the late soldier bombs from Froyo. They weren't able to get anything off the back of that. Nursey has about a 20% Uber, but Ascent is going to transition to a forward hold of their own now that they hold the point.
Yeah, and it's the first one of these forward holds that we're seeing come out of Ascent, and we haven't really seen Froyo try and take a hand at cracking one of these. It'll be interesting to see the way they do it. Ascent was just trying to shove players through, but Froyo does have about a 20% Uber advantage, as they're using it right now, having multiple players bombing in out of Froyo onto this concrete area, forcing Ascent way back. What are you seeing here, Nick?
We're going to see Banny the first death, despite the fact that Froyo had that Uber advantage taking it in. We're going to see Blaze going to go down on the back lines, and Yomps is going to follow. Eric is going to get a pick onto Laz, but Ascent's getting a much, much better Uber for what they got. They are going to have to give up their forward hold. They did lose Laz, but off the back of that. And Froyo is going to be trying to push back in off their spawn advantage. Laz is down. He's going to have a fairly long respawner. And Ascent is going to be trying to look for a pick to try and even things out. You see bot mode really far forward here for the side of Ascent. They're going to be backing up while both of the scouts try and transition over to shutting down the soldiers on the flank for Froyo. It is even Ubers here, about a minute on the side of Ascent with about 40 seconds on for Froyo. Habib is going to get the first frag onto Yite. Going to be finding the pipe kill on that one. The soldiers are going to be bombing in for Ascent, trying to pressure them back, and Habib is going to go down. Slamish is going to claim that, and Botmode's going to get a pipe kill onto Banny, so this is really good for the side of Ascent. They're still holding on to the point. They are going to cross over times here, and they have actually accrued a small Uber advantage as well. So he's building a little bit better than their team.
Yeah, we saw some aggressive bombs coming out there. Sorry, I had something to say. I got a little lost. I was watching a really good fight in this game. Gonna have to bear with me there.
We are going to see the even Ubers here. Ascent has about 20 seconds left, so we are going to see the exchange from froyotech on the point. Ascent is going to kite really far back before re-popping into them. They're going to have a much better Uber here on the side of Ascent. Nobody has gone down yet. Both of the soldiers from Ascent eating a good amount of damage, but Yams, Blaze, and Banny so weak. Yite and Slemish and Laz are all going to go down. Banny and Blaze on the other side of things. Nursey's under this 13 HP along with Habib and Eric down so weak. Bot mode is healthy and he does have skis with him, and everybody on Froyo is weak, but they're just going to play their heal. Ascent is going to take it down to overtime. They are going to get the clock down to 0 once again, but Froyo is going to cap up on this point. Skis is able to live. He was alone for a few seconds there, so he's going to have a small Uber disadvantage, but Ascent is on overtime. They are 1 cap away from winning this round.
Yeah, Ubers are kind of even, but Ascent is on the back foot here as they need to be able to get this cap before they can really try and make anything happen. It'll be interesting to see how they choose to try and re-engage here.
Yep, so our 15 seconds left on the clock for froyotech. Ascent needs just 1 more cap. Blaze is going to be jumping into the backlines along with Yams. Yams is going to be jumping in onto the other team's cliff. Going to get a lot of damage in on the J. Froyo is going to Uber in. Skis is going to find his Uber. But Slemish and Laz are going to go down. Banny and Eric finding those. Eric on a 12 kill streak for froyotech, doing a really good job. Jay is going to go down. Habib just sticking off the point. Banny's going to get skis. Habib's going to get another pick onto Yite. Nurse is going to get the arrow frag onto bot mode, who got Banny before going down. But it is going to be 2-0 for froyotech.
Yeah, I think that 12 kill streak out of Eric is important, not just because it looks good, but also because it speaks to the survivability that your player is putting forth in this game. You know, it sucks to have to wait for a player who's in respawn, and being able to know that he's up and out of the fight in these situations is very important.
Yep, so we are going to see our 3rd mid out of froyotech. We're going to see the same thing with Blaze bombing into the other team's grass and concrete area with Yams bombing. Nursey and Habib are going to go down. Jay and bot mode are down on the side of Ascent, but with Ascent having the heal advantage, they are just going to group up around skis. They're going to just be cleaning up the frag. We're going to see Blaze bomb in. He's going to be able to find skis off the back of it very late into that fight. He's able to find that one. Really good job from Blaze to even out the heal advantage late into that fight. Ascent is going to win out the mid, but with the late death of skis, we're going to see Nursey with an Uber advantage.
Yeah, unfortunate bomb coming in at a Blaze there, or fortunate depending on who you're rooting for. froyotech is going to find themselves immediately able to push back in here and basically push Ascent out for, well, they don't get the cap, so it won't be pushed out just yet, but they do have a strong advantage in positioning to themselves, as if any bombs are coming in, you're going to see it coming in sooner rather than later. Laz pushing the flank, actually being double bombed by the soldiers of Froyo. A lot of resources for 1 roamer. What are you seeing here, Nick?
Yep, so we do see Nursey with about a 25% advantage. Froyo was able to edge back the cap. Ascent only had it for about 20 seconds there. Ascent is coming back in, though, off the fact that they do have the spawn advantage now that they no longer hold the point. Both the soldiers are so weak on the side of froyotech, but Froyo's just going to be taking their Uber in, and they're going to get skis. Eric is going to claim that one. Banny and Eric took that Uber in, able to claim skis. They aren't anything else for now, but they're going to be re-aggressing into Froyo, who are all bunched up on the grass. We're going to see Banny go down, but Jay and bot mode are going to follow. Laz is going to get... not able to find the frag onto Nursey, which is what he's looking for. And so we're going to see 3 down on the side of Ascent. Froyo continues to hold the point.
Yeah, and that's just Froyo focusing their damage so well into Ascent. You know, they know who they need to shoot at, and they know where the damage needs to be focused, and Ascent just seems a little scattered or a little frazzled here.
Yep, so we are going to see Froyo transition into a forward hold of their own, but they are going to back off as a couple players from Ascent have already made it out from the main area. We are going to see Nursey again with another 40% Uber advantage. So they're going to be pushing back in on the point. Bot mode's going to eat a ton of damage, going to be surfing back. Banny's going to get the frag on the bot mode, not able to meet up with skis and get healed. Jay's going to be bombing in, and Nursey's just going to be taking this Uber in. Eric going to be taking this one in. He's going to be looking for the frag on the skis, getting juggled by Laz. Eric is in. He's able to get a bunch of damage into skis. Skis down to about 80 HP, but he's able to squeak his way back into spawn. Both the scouts are down for the side of Ascent. He's at about 80%, but Nursey's going to go down. Jay's going to get in and find that one, and Laz is going to get Habib on the other side of things. Yampa is going to go down as well, so it looked like a really good scenario for Froyo. It's actually turning into a really good scenario from Ascent. Froyo does have about a minute and 20-second time advantage, about a minute 30 by the time Ascent is going to cap up on this point. But we are going to see Ascent with a full Uber advantage, and they're finally going to get the point back.
Yeah, Froyo getting a little cocky there with how this match has been going. They decided to push up onto the opposing blue hill, maybe looking for a forward hold, which was a little odd considering that the opposing team was already pushed out. That is to say, Ascent. And Jay got in a great bomb as the Uber comes out of Ascent, going straight into Froyo, taking down Nursey, taking down Habib, taking down Yamps. That's the entirety of Froyo's combo down as the remaining players retreat into spawn.
Yep, and we are just going to see the scouts from froyotech surviving. We actually see Eric with 5 doms. I do want to point that out right now, that 2 rounds into this game, Eric has 5 dominations. He's doing a phenomenal job on this map of just staying alive. Banny's going to go down. The forward hold from Ascent is continuing. And we are going to see Slemish go down. Yite is going to get the frag onto Yas, but it looks like they've broken the forward hold. Laz going to bomb in, looking for the frag on Nursey, and Habib are both going to go down on the side of Froyo. So a really good re-push after giving up the forward hold initially. They are going to get the picks onto the demo and medic for froyotech respectively, and Skis is about an 80% advantage, and what was a really good time advantage for Froyo is actually going to look like it's going to even out for Ascent here.
Yeah, and Ascent setting up some traps, trying to hold a little farther back. I think that considering the large Uber advantage they have the leeway, they have the resources to maybe try and force the issue a little bit, because they have another minute and 20 to push, or to hold here. I think that they could potentially try and bully Froyo out of this, as they are just trying to go for a sack. They don't see Nursey anywhere here, as the players do come in, and they actually do force out Skis' Uber. It's going to give Froyo a 100% Uber advantage, as nothing really happened apart from that. Banny, Yomps, and Blaze go down.
Yep, so Eric, Habib, and Nursey are going to be kiting back into their spawn. It looks like Ascent isn't going to opt the transition to a forward hold. Bit of an interesting decision there, but I think Froyo's been doing too good of a job of breaking it. And we are going to see Nursey coming up on their Uber. They're going to be taking out their cliff side, and Ascent is going to be looking to buy the last 40 seconds off the clock while Froyo is trying to push in with their Uber here. We're going to see Yomps and Co trying to jump in, make some space. We're going to see the Blaze bombing into Ascent's backline once again, trying to make space for his team. Froyo's in on the point they have yet to use. He's at about 60% on his side of things. Blaze is going to trade out for Yite in the backlines. And Slemish and Co are going to be trying to pressure the point. Froyo is going to cap it out. There's about 20 seconds left for the side of Ascent, about a minute left for the side of Froyo. We're going to see the bomb in from Jay and Laz. Jay is going to go down, or I'm sorry, Laz is going to go down. Jay is going to be meet up with his heels on point. And we're going to see the Uber from Froyo. We're going to make an exchange on the point. A lot of cap time for the side of Ascent here, but Froyo's time is continuing to take down while this exchange goes. Ascent is going to be trying to cap out this point, and they are going to get the picks onto Blade.
Mission ends in 10 seconds.
But Jay and bomb mode go down on Ascent. They do have a spawn disadvantage and have capped out the point. There's 10 seconds left, 40 left. A 10% Uber advantage for Nursey as things settle down here.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's very important to notice, I don't know exactly how it happened, but Nursey went down to about 10 or 15 health at some point during that fight. It was before she could get in from concrete. She took damage maybe from an arrow or from a pipe, but she had to back off and get some health. She decided not to pop, and that meant that Skis was actually able to get his own Uber, which allowed them to hold that somewhat.
Yep, so we're seeing Froyo get really aggressive. They're going to trade Blade out for bot mode. Yomps going to claim the frag on that one. Laz is super weak on the side of Ascent. Arrow from Skis. Nursey's Uber advantage grew to about 25%. Jay's going to go down to a trap from Habib. A really good trap from Habib. And Froyo's going to pop their Uber on the point as they take it down to 0 seconds. Ascent has a little bit of overtime, and they are going to come back in with their Uber charge here. They have no soldiers. They're waiting for the respawns from their soldiers, but Ascent is going to get their positioning on the point. Blaze is going to be bombing into the backlines. Habib and Blaze are behind Froyo. Yomps is going to go down, but Eric is going to get Skis on the point. Eric going to find another frag. Blaze is going to bomb back in, going to get bot mode. Slemmer is going to punish him for it. It's going to be double overtime, and Ascent is going to win out the DM fight on the point. It's going to be a 2-1 game here. Ascent getting themselves on the board in this grand finals.
Yeah, and that was a great play out of them. You actually saw what looked like they were on the back foot in that fight. However, you saw some great DM play coming out of the Ascent scouts, and it was able to push Froyo out and actually stall them out before the round could end in their favor.
Yep, so we are going to see a 2-1 game coming into this fourth mid. This mid, Slemish is going to get the first frag into Habib. Nursey and Yomps back on their cliff. They're going to get the pick onto Laz, but Slemish is going to Banny, and Slemish is in onto Nursey. Nursey's juking for her life, but Slemish is going to get that one. It's just Slemish alive. Froyo was able to rampage forward and get the rest of Ascent, and Slemish is going to go down shortly. Yomps with a big 3 kills on that mid.
Yeah, I just want to highlight the crazy surfs that Skis was hitting in that mid. He did eventually go down, but it looked like he was flying across the midpoint, grabbing all kinds of damage.
Yep, so we are going to see Froyo winning out the mid fight. They are going to camp up. Nursey has about a 12% advantage over Skis. Nothing particularly significant, so Ascent is probably going to opt to try and try push in. But we're going to see Yomps in on the Skis. A clean 2 rockets to take him down to start off this fight. So what was really a small advantage for Froyotech is going to grow as Skis is dead. They're going to be all inning for Nursey, who took about 30 damage there, but they aren't going to get the pick onto Nursey. And with just Yomps going down for Froyotech, it's going to be a full wipe for Ascent.
Yeah, and it seemed as though Ascent was trying to make some sort of sack play, but Yomps was a little too ready for it, as he was actually able to find skis somewhere in that fight. So it was kind of a sack play gone wrong.
Yep, and Froyo is going to be forward holding. They have 5 players stacked on the grass side here, and we're going to see Ascent is going to be all in it. Botmode's going to pump in and get the pick onto Bandy, but he's going to go down. Slemnish, Jay, and Botmode all down. 50% Uber for Skis as Nurse's Uber fades. So we are going to see the spawn advantage for Ascent here as Froyo holds the point, and they're going to be waiting for the respawn. Banny is still down. He's going to be rolling out as Ascent gets all of their spawns, so they do have a temporary advantage, but Froyo is continuing to forward hold it. And Habib's going to get the trap kill on the Slemnish in main, and it looks like they're going to be collapsing on the players trying to come in from main, and off that Slemnish death, Ascent is just out. They are opting to just back up. Skis is up on his Uber now. Nurse's at about 50%, and Ascent Soldier's going to be bombing it. Yomps is going to trade out with Jay on the concrete side of things. Laz is going to go down to Banny, but Yite's going to come into punish. No soldiers, no soldiers for the side of Ascent. Yomps and Banny down for Froyo. Bot mode is going to get a pick onto Habib, who was trying to jump out. Big pipe from bot mode there. We are going to see Slemnish cleaning up on the point as Nursey tries to just get out and meet up with the respawner of Yomp.
Yeah, Ascent did a really great job of cracking that forward hold, as we saw Blaze trying to find a way in on the right side to try and force out Skis before he could really get comfortable in this, but he wasn't able to find it. Ascent got in, and now they're able to find the point for themselves.
Yep, so the Ubers are even, and Jay is actually up on the sniper for Ascent, switching off his usual pocket soldier role, so he's going to be sniping for Ascent. We'll see if he can find anything. Yomps and Blaze are going to be bombing in behind the other team. Habib is going to get Slamnish, but Blaze and Habib are going to go down on the other side of things. Yomps is on Ascent's back line here. It is just Yomps and Nursey, but it looks like Froyo got what they wanted here with their 5-man sack. Yomps should go down here shortly, looking for the pick onto Jay. He's not going to find it. Nursey still has her Uber charge, while Skis is at about 20%. They were able to find the force on the side of froyotech. Skis was forced to pop off his Uber, and Froyo's going to be trying to push in with their Uber advantage here. So we are going to see froyotech with the full Uber band pushing into the sniper of Jay. Froyo is actually just going to get the cap out here. I'm just going to punish Banny for that one, but Yomps is going to trade out the Fry. Yomps is going to get on immediately afterwards. Froyo's going to be Ubering in. They're going to find a ton of picks on us. Skis is down, so is going to go down to Blade. Steve is going to pipe down the left. Just the sniper of Jay, who's going to get cleaned up by Eric here. And Nursey with and Co are going to be just regrouping on the point. About 45 seconds left for Froyo, with 2 minutes left for the side of Ascent. Froyo showing a little bit of dominance in this round.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Ascent intends to do, because I'm going to be honest, they kind of need to try and shake things up a little bit, because things have not been going. You know, they did get the last round, but it seems as though froyotech has been a little more dominant this round. They've kind of themselves up and they figured out what they want to do.
Yep, so we're going to see both soldiers for both teams trying to jump into the backlines. Laz and Yomps going behind respectively for their teams. Froyo is going to be holding onto the point still. They're down to about 10 seconds left. Eric and Banny both go down, however, and Blaze to follow. And Laz is down super weak on the side of Ascent. Ascent is going to cap out the point with Froyo with 8 seconds left. Nursey does have a small Uber advantage, but it doesn't look like they're really in a position to go off of it. And Ascent is just going to be content with holding onto the point and building up their Uber.
Yeah, and Ascent's plan there to try and change up their game was to put a little more pressure onto Habib. We actually saw a double soldier bomb as we see Habib bombing in, both teams using the Uber a little bit better for Ascent. What do you see, Nick?
Yep, so we saw Nursey and Habib both were in the skybox there. Yomps is going to be the first at this post Uber. Blaze to follow. Ascent is going to find those frags, and Banny is going to go down as well. Habib is going to pipe down, and a nice pipe from Bomb Mode going to take Eric out of the air there. It looks like Froyo kind of just exchanged the Ubers and then went for a bit of a 3-man sack with Banny, Eric, Blaze, and Yomp. Habib and Nursey are just going to be able to out, but they do have a small Uber disadvantage. But Laz is going to be jumping in, looking for the frag, and Nursey. And Nursey's going to go down with the help of Yite. Yite going to be cleaning up on that one. Yite and Botman are going to go down, but they're going to trade out for 3 players on Froyo. But Skis is going to go down. Blaze is able to find that one. Banny is going to get Laz on the point, and it's just Jay for the side of Ascent. 8 seconds left for froyotech. They're going to be waiting for their spawners to come out before they cap. 45 seconds left for Ascent. There is a time for Ascent to try and get out here. It looks like it's going to be on Yite and bot mode to try and get out and get some overtime for their team. But it's going to be slim chances. Ascent and is going to get in onto the point, but bot mode and Yite are going to go down, and it's going to be a 3-1 half for froyotech.
Yeah, I think that Ascent had some ideas there that were going pretty well for them, but I think they kind of got a little full of themselves. They pushed in a little too aggressively, and that did not go well. So last map, the half really went for a long time. I kind of want to bring our analysts in, but I'm concerned that considering the score and considering that we are on essentially match point, the other teams might just ready up immediately.
We did see a fair amount of ready-ups go very quickly. I think we can just kind of break it down ourselves and bring the analysts in at the end. I think your assessment of the situation may be correct. This is match point in theory for Ascent if they don't pull back a very large comeback. It is doable. We have seen Ascent do it. As the analysts were saying, the core of Slemdish, Laz, and Co. last season were able to upset the second place team, Froyo Black, on this very map, and they were down 3-2 at one point. I believe it was actually 3-1 at one point before they were able to claw back the rounds to take the map. So if there is a core of players that can do it, it is the players on Ascent, but it is a tough mountain to climb. And on the side of froyotech, it looks like they've just been playing their game. It looks like for them, I mean, Eric has 92 points in the server, Slemdish is 83, and Yite is at 70, but Eric was going huge in the first couple of rounds for froyotech.
Yeah, I'd love to see the stats right now because it seems like from, what we've been seeing in this game, Eric is putting up clockwork numbers. He's been putting up some real crazy kills. At one point we said he had 5 doms. He had a 12 kill streak.
Do you want to just take a wild guess of what Eric's KD is right now?
Oh my gosh, I don't even want to imagine. But if I had to say, let's go like 50 and 14.
That's actually pretty close. He is 47 for 9 right now.
Oh my gosh.
He is bottom deathing in the server and top fragging by over 10 kills. The next highest in the server is Slemish at 37 for 22, followed by Yite, who is 19 for 21, and then it kind of devolves from there. It looks like Banny and Habib are at 25 and 24 respectively. On the damage front of things, Habib is top damaging at 374. There was a pause, right? Am I imagining that, or there was a pause?
I don't think so.
I think I'm just imagining things. So it's sort of a low damaging product game. Habib, yeah, there was a pause on the first map. I'm being told by production. I'm just losing my mind over here. Like I said, on the damage front of things, Habib is top in the server. Next is actually going to be Banny at 359 DPM, followed by, I believe, nope, it's actually going to be Eric next at 350, followed by Slumnish at 346. I would say, no, again, it's really hard to look at these stats and say anybody's having a poor game because Jay and Laz are having very comparable numbers to Blaze and Yomps. On the death side of things, actually, Blaze and Yomps collectively have more deaths than Jay and Laz. They have a couple more frags apiece, but again, their team is winning 3-1. So it's so hard to say that anybody on Ascent is playing poorly. I just think Froyo is just, especially Eric, is just going huge on this map.
Yeah, I think that the games have actually been relatively close, but I think that, you just see Eric pulling out that star power. Are we going live now, actually? So yeah, as I was saying, we see Eric pulling out that star power, being able to put in a lot of work. Let's see what Eric's doing in this specific mid fight, because he's, we've been singing his praises all night.
Yeah, we are on to mid-fight number 5. This is do or die for Ascent. They are on essentially match point here. You're going to see Blaze bombing into Laz on the concrete side of things. Eric is going to be trying to follow up. Laz and Yite are just going to back up, and Froyo's just going to be collapsing in onto the... Jay's going to be the first death of the mid bane. He's going to claim that one. Laz is going to get the pick onto Yomps on the other side of things, so 1 down for both team. We're going to see Ascent trying to re-push into the positioning of Froyo on the point, but Laz is going to go down to Habib. Habib's going to get the sticky kill onto that one, and Froyo is going to cap out the point in a fairly scrappy mid. Bot mode is going to go down very late, though, to Banny.
Yeah, you saw... I actually noticed Laz holding very close on this right side by Connector, but you saw players push him out, and that meant that this entire left side was untouched. As we see both teams trade their Ubers, actually, looking like the health is a little worse for Ascent. However, they are going to keep control of this midpoint for the time being, while Froyo looks for a way to re-engage. What do you see here, Nick?
Yep, so we see Ascent is able to get in and cap out the point. Laz is going to go down, but Slemmish is going to get the kill onto Banny. Yomp's going to trade it out, though, so 2 down on the side of Ascent. Yomps is pretty weak. On the other side, thanks to a huge rocket onto bot mode, though, going to take him out of the sky on that one. He's going to retreat back to his team with 3 down on the side of Ascent. It looks like, oh, but Skis is going so weak, and Eric is going to take him down with the Boston Basher. Oh, I thought Skis was able to make it out, but Eric able to come in huge and melee down Skis. Nurse is going to have a huge Uber advantage off the back of that front. Froyo is just waiting to cap out the point, waiting for their spawns here.
Yeah, at this point we're just seeing patented Froyo aggression. You know, they're pushing forward so aggressively, and Ascent isn't really prepared for it because they had just tried to take that point, but Froyo said, you know, just because you won the fight doesn't mean we're going to let you keep it won. And they kept going forward. They were able to take out key members of Ascent and push forward, as we actually see Slemnish trying to keep Habib out of this fight as he caps out the point. Bit of an odd decision, as Froyo is going to use their Uber to try and stop that.
Yeah, but Yomps is able to get Skis in on the back line. He was in behind a lot of Ascent, so once again, Froyo's going to have the Uber advantage. We are going to see Habib take down bot mode and a huge air shot onto Jay. I don't know who hit that one, but Jay was taken down out of the sky. I believe it was Blaze that maybe hit that one. I'm not super sure. Yeah, because Yomps is coming in on the respawner. So Blaze with the massive air shot onto Jay there. Slamish is going to take down Banny, and Habib is going to be on the other team's cliff, super aggressive. Blaze is going to be in looking for the pick onto Skis, looking for the direct. He's not able to find that one. Eric's going to get in, and with the follow-up from Yomps, they're going to get that one. Eric claiming 4 frags in this, going to claim a 5th as he gets Laz to crater.
Yeah, Eric is insane. Sorry, that's a little simplistic, but watching him this game has been pretty incredible. We saw froyotech essentially push into Ascent as they were trying to take up that right side, but you saw the bombs come out, you saw the sacks, and they were able to find a lot there, as Ascent is actually going to try and push back onto point here.
They got us playing a little aggressive. They are a minute and 20 seconds behind in the time bank. Jay and Blaze are going to trade out for both teams. Ascent just going to be edging the cap. Yomps is going to get a bunch of damage in onto Yite, and Furry's going to be taking their Uber, and Habib's going to bomb in. Not going to find much with this other than some positioning back on the point. Skis is at about 60% here. And we are just going to see them trying to reset on the point, but Bomb Mode's going to kill Habib here, so with the demo down for Froyo, their main source of damage is down. It looks like Ascent is going to cap out the point. And it looks like Froyo's going to be trying to all-in for Skis. Banny and Blaze down. Bomb Mode is going to get the pick onto Yom. Eric going to follow. It's just Habib and Nursey on their clip. And Skis going to have full advantage as they hold on to this point here.
Yeah, we actually saw a fantastic bomb coming out of Yomps, getting Skis down to about 10 health, but luckily the focus fire was able to protect that medic. As Froyotech's pushing out, it looks like they're going to be trying to take this lower right side as an avenue to push in with. Ascent defending on a similar side on their end of the map. We have some spam coming across the point. Nick, what do you think is going to be important here?
I think it's important that Nursey does not go down to this aggressive Uber. Skis and Co were really aggressive, but they're actually just going to back up as they see Froyo backing out. But the militia showing from Yomps and Blaze just jumping around making space for team. Yomps is going to be trying to commit. He's going to get the frag onto Yite here. Slemish and Jay are going to take down Banny and Yomps though. So with 2 down on the side of Froyo, 3 down shortly here as Blaze and Eric should 4 down. As Blaze should go down here shortly, but they were able to get the force out of Ski. I think they were trying to look for a potential aggressive Uber to try and take down Nursey, but as soon as they saw Nursey was out, they tried to back up, but it was already too late. Skis was baited forward, and Froyo was able to collapse on him and get the force out of it.
Yeah, Froyo did a great job of baiting that. They did a great job of sacking in, forcing the Uber out of Skis, and now they find themselves with 40 seconds left in their match point of Season 30 Grand Finals with about a 40% Uber ad.
Yep, so Nursey's down to about half HP, eating a little bit of spam here. Furryo's going to be taking this one in. Yomp's going to be jumping in, trying to look for a pick on the back lines, meeting up with the rest of the flank while Furryo rotates around. Yomp's going to be the first ad. Blaze is going to trade out that one on Yite, and Laz is going to follow. So again, Ascent's flank going down. Furryo is going to be claiming this point. They're waiting for the spawner of Yomps before they cap this out. They're actually just going to cap it out, extending his respawn time, but the Ubers are going to even out here for both teams. About 30 seconds left for both teams. It's a very close round here. Ascent is going to be trying to push back in with their spawn advantage now that they have this. Ascent is going to be taking the exchange. They're going to have a slightly worse Uber. They're going to get the damage in on Habib to get that for. Banny is going to be trying to chase out Skis. They're going to be looking for frags. Bot Mode's going to be the first at. Habib going to be claiming that one. Jay is going to be in onto Habib. He's going to go down. Habib's going to live on that one. Skis is down super weak. He's really far back from the rest of his team. And with 10 seconds left, it's do or die here. Ascent has to re-aggress and win this team fight. They're going to be jumping in. Laz is going to go down. The scouts are going to be trying to focus on targets. They're going to get yomped, but it's going to be an all-out frag fest, and Froyo's going to win the map 4-1. froyotech are going to be your ESEA invite champions for Season 30.
Yeah, they showed throughout the entirety of this playoffs, throughout the entirety of the season, throughout the entirety of the last, 13 seasons that froyotech knows a thing or two about how to play TF2. You saw that unbridled aggression coming out of them. Even in that last fight, you saw them corralling the entirety of Ascent over towards this concrete side, just steering them in the direction that they wanted them to be. And that was able to let them, decide the fight on their terms.
Yep, so I don't know if we want to bring it over to our analyst desk, and I don't know if we are going to try and
Yeah, that's why you get McDonald's for 10. Wait, what's up? Oh,
Just
Yeah,
going
that's
to
why.
bring that one
Yeah.
in. So,
Yes, so
what
I'm sure
went,
that
what went so right for froyotech on this second map? They are going to be claiming the second map 4-1. What did froyotech do so well that Ascent wasn't able to pull off?
St. Last, you want to go first?
Oh yeah, I guess that means I go first. Yeah, Eric kind of just carried them. Eric played probably some of the best Viatic Scout since Clockwork Season 21, where he went like 82 and something. Absolutely just monster performance from Eric. I don't think we'll see a performance from him in quite a while. Going 55 and 12, played absolutely stellar. There's honestly not much Ascent could have done if you have a player of like Eric playing that well and never dying. Like there was a round where Eric didn't die. I remember when it was 2-0, Eric was 26 and 4. When it was 2-1, Eric was 36 and 4. Like he was very hard to kill. He had so much impact. It was always alive. Was always a constant threat. Even dying less than Banny. Banny honestly going 30 and 20, kind of not as good as I thought with how combo essential he is, but Eric was just able to round everything up. Slumdish also, on the other hand, though, playing an excellent game. I was expecting a little bit more from Laz and Jay personally in terms of impact and positioning and damage output, but Blaze and Yams played incredible. They played very, very well. It wasn't a roll in both matches in my personal opinion. I thought Granary first half was closer than the score entails, and Viaduct we had a lot of close rounds. Every round pretty much went to like almost overtime. So great game from Ascent.
Yeah, and I just talk about basically the medics because obviously I'm a medic main. There were a lot of times that game specifically where there would be situations where the other team would pop first. Or, I say the other team, froyotech would pop first, and Skis would be kind of milking and trying to get some kind of advantage, trying to craft an advantage for his team. But there were a lot of instances when he wouldn't really focus on what he was healing while he was trying to milk. So he would pretty much be like healing a full buff bot mode instead of trying to save like other players. And there were so many instances when he would just drop somebody. Like there was a time he dropped Slimnish in an Uber that was about 5 or 6 seconds longer. Where if he just popped, not only would they have probably killed the combo, they would have won the round because the round timer for them was 0-0 at that point. All they had to do was cap and win. But Skis dropped Slimnish and then it just started spiraling down. And then there was another time they had the point and Froyo went in for a force and Skis got forced anyways, but he ended up dropping bot mode. And because of that, Froyo was just able to repush off of the better spawn and just really rally it through. There were so many instances that game where things like that would happen. There's just so much pressure being put on you when you're playing against players like Eric who just go absolute full beast mode.
Do you have anything to add, Tojo?
Oh, sorry, I forgot. I'm not in voice activity. The point I was gonna make was about the experience difference. Definitely. Like, looking at Skis, this is his first time playing a grand final. He's only ever, like, gotten 4th. Jay, this is his first time in invite playoffs, let alone a grand final. Laz and, Jay, I believe this is their second time? Third time, maybe?
Laz's second time.
Yeah, okay. So, just, it really shows in that match. Just in general, everyone on Froyo, land champions, so their coordination and stuff, their focus, it's all on point. Regardless of like their scrimming and shit. Ascent, on the other hand, they're kind of a ragtag team all things considered. Like, bot mode has never played demo in invite playoffs, to my knowledge, and he's playing in a grand final, you know, on demo for the first time. So there's just a lot of things contributing to why these maps weren't as close as they could have been. And like Sandblast said, I don't think it was a roll either map.
For
But
sure.
yeah,
Well, we have
was a good showing.
Froyo for interviews, I think, in the channel above us. What's going on, guys?
Yeah, I don't know, I wasn't expecting to do interviews. Well, whenever you're ready to link them, we can go ahead and start that.
We are linked, sir.
Oh, epic. Okay, well, I guess I'll start with this interview. First question for whoever wants to take this. Ascent is a team that you guys are not. You're very familiar with them. You've played them a few times throughout both the playoffs and throughout the season. Was there anything that they came out with in this particular match that you weren't expecting, maybe caught a little off guard with, or was it pretty much just a regular match for you guys?
I don't think they did anything surprising. In fact, I think that they played more afraid than they do in scrims, which is a trend with them. I don't know. I think the matches, they just don't play well. They play really scared. So, works in our favor, I guess.
That's unfortunate because matches are when it counts. Let's talk a little bit about Eric. He really went off in this match in particular, but especially on Viaduct. Both myself and Sandblast have referred to him as putting a performance similar to Clockwork tonight. Was that something that, did it surprise you at all?
Beast. Is he here? Is Eric here?
No.
No.
I do not believe so.
Damn.
I said
He had
this
5
is
doms at one point. We were trying to set him up for
yeah.
6 doms.
He did
but
have 5.
I noticed you guys
couldn't
kept Ubering him
I
in trying to get the
said,
6th dom. Who was he trying to dom? Who was the last
Jeez.
player?
Jeez.
He killed him like
Apparently
2
he's
times.
one off.
He was
Yeah.
one off. What?
Oh, that's so unlucky.
I think it was
Oh,
unfortunate
yeah.
too, because I think he would have gotten it if Jay didn't. Because Jay DC'd very briefly, correct? In one of the rounds.
No, that didn't affect his doms. He just
Oh, it
needed
didn't?
skis. That's it.
If you leave the server, your dom goes away.
Yeah,
I was
that's
gonna
true.
say because I saw him lose one of the doms, because of that. Because he ended the round with 4 instead of 5.
No, he lost a dom because he got caught in an
I
Uber.
think he died.
Yeah, he got caught. They took like an Uber into you guys, and you were on, I think it was like grass, and then they just like wiped half the team pretty much, including Eric.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
That would be a legendary performance. 6
Exactly.
doms, 55.
He was
above.
definitely on pace for the 82 burger.
Oh,
that-
absolutely.
Like if
Well,
that
they
match
would
was
have to
closer,
win,
they would
yeah.
have to start winning, of course.
Win a
But if
few
that
rounds,
if
yeah.
that match was way closer, he was
Yeah,
on
I
pace
mean,
to
the first 2 rounds actually both went to overtime, which is pretty crazy.
I have a question
We
for
kind of
Habib.
threw the 3rd round.
Yo, Habib, you here?
I think we're just
I wanted to ask him why there was no Kritzkrieg this map. This whole entire grand
Isn't that up
finals.
to medic? The medic player, Nursey, hello.
We hear you, Habib.
I can't.
I
hear
don't.
you.
I don't hear Habib.
Yeah,
I can't
no.
hear him either.
He's not
What?
here.
I hear him.
What?
Is he
Why do I
whispering
hear
to you?
him?
He's whispering to you.
No way.
Are his
He
lips
has to
turning
be.
blue, Banny?
I don't know. I just hear him talking.
He's not
everyone.
talking to
Everyone
us.
here has a Bieber.
All right, Banny, relay the messages.
He
All right,
said, huh?
Habib. Huh?
He said, "Huh."
He said,
Oh, nice, cool. All right, great.
Well, that is
Cool.
some fantastic invite.
Yeah, he said Nursey doesn't want to run
invite
crits. Yeah,
insight.
there was a moment where, like Habib proposed going crits, and Nursey's just like, nah, not right now. It's kind of a high pressure like risk. I mean, it's just risky. So
For sure.
I don't think we needed to run crits, because I think did we run crits at one? No, maybe not
No,
even once
you
the
didn't.
whole time.
I kept track and
Okay.
wrote everything down in my notebook.
Wow. Okay, yeah, no crits. Guess we just didn't need it. I think because the like spawns and stuff were like always kind of disjointed, we never felt like we really had a clean opportunity to go crits, or it was just like obvious. That's what we were waiting for.
I do always like asking this one question because after every grand finals, usually some time has passed since the start of the season. Like when did the season start? Early January around there, and now we're already in April. My question is RGB is coming up in June. Will we see any rendition of froyotech going to the RGB land, potentially play on some 5-ping environment against some other TF2 teams? I know there's a couple decentish pug teams going, maybe an invite team in the lower levels and some IM teams we're heading out there. Will we see any rendition of Froyo going out there since Rewind 3 got canceled?
It's way too soon to know. I feel like there's like zero details that would make that LAN worth going to at the moment, so
It's
we'll
been
have
announced.
to
Yeah,
take a look.
yeah, it got announced. The dates are announced for RGB.
But it's more like prize pool and whatnot. It's
Yeah.
all up in the air.
Apparently, because Fragile was saying this is supposed to be one of the RGBs with the better prize pool, better organization. TF2 being main stage.
Well, unfortunately, we've heard that before, and I don't know. For me personally, I still feel a bit burned by episode 3 because we were fully booked and didn't get any fucking
Reimbursement.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Especially if the same people are like involved with it. It's kind of like
RGB is ran by Fragile. He's running everything TF2 wise. So
But
usually,
are you talking about GXL banning?
Huh?
no, he's talking about Rewind 3. I'm asking if we're gonna see any rendition of Froyo go into RGB because it's coming up soon.
Way too soon. I don't know. Usually we don't try to get ahead of ourselves. We knew we had the grand finals to focus on, so we'll have our team discussions about the future after.
Makes sense.
I actually had a question for Benny. So from your perspective as Eric's scout partner, did it feel like Eric was just like finding good engagements, playing around his team's damage, or was he just kind of your entry fragger, making a bunch of space by doing big damage?
Eric is always really good at like coordinating with everyone, so he's always playing off of like distractions or following up on damage. So I would say he's really more of a team player, and it's kind of shocking, I guess, to see such a big performance considering that he's not like
his play style is
but he's very, very consistent, and I feel like he's been playing actually better than ever lately. So yeah, I'm always impressed watching him. Like literally every one of my teammates makes insane plays, so it's always really hype when we get to see them clutching it out, and Eric just like delivered over and over with that tonight.
Yeah, I would say this is probably Eric's best performance, and that's probably that he's ever played. Yeah, today, like that Viaduct game is like, in my opinion, is staple. Like, there's nothing that he did in the past that was as good as this, in my opinion. I think he played incredible.
Yeah.
As always.
They gotta know Eric's capable of that. I don't know why they'd risk going to Viaduct. It's his playground now.
Well, he let everyone know, so yeah. Obviously, we're gonna see you guys in season 32.
31.
31. Season 31. Lost track of time there. Sorry.
You heard it here first, folks. Banny denying that we will see him in season 32.
Well, we'll see.
I have one more question for the chat. I was told I was going to be paid for this, but I'm not. So if anyone would like to Venmo me $6 for Uber Eats McDonald's, you can whisper me in the chat. I'm right here.
All right, well, I think that's probably going to wrap up for tonight. Nick, do you have anything you want to say?
I think that's all we got. Does anybody want to make any shoutouts before we sign us off?
I don't have any shoutouts at all.
Shout out to Bill Money, Mrs. Pugstrom for this. I love you. Back to you, Bill.
All right, I'd like to, give a quick shout out to Console for keeping up with us in this production. Shout out to Looster, who, did all the previous ones before this. He did a great job. Obviously, thank you, members of froyotech, for joining us in this voice chat. Joining us for this interview. You guys did a great job, and I'm glad that you were able to give us such insight into the inner workings of your team.
Thanks. I guess I can go. Just thanks again to everyone for watching and you guys organizing this. And just want to say thanks to my team for being amazing. And thanks also to Meat Market for helping us practice this week.
Yeah.
Got anything for us, Nick?
I want to say shout out to the Dunk Masters. They are playing the ESEA IM Grand Finals on TFTV 2. I believe we're going to be hosting them after this is over. But shout out to my boys who are currently battling it out for Map 2 of the IM Grand Finals.
What's the current standings? Do you know?
Theory of Knowledge took Map 1. Dunk Masters with a minute left is up 3-2 on Map 2.
Oh, okay.
And then last but certainly not least, I'd like to give a shout out to my dear father, Zachary. That's all I have.
Yeah, we're all
Yeah, I got
set.
10 of these in the oven. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, I got work tomorrow.
I think I'm gonna do my shoutouts real quick because I got my mic up to OBS. I'm gonna say shoutouts to all the invite teams that put on some great TF2 throughout the season. Congrats to you guys for winning Froyo. Shoutouts to RGB Land, June 22nd, 23rd. Come, I need more help on production. Please don't leave me alone in the corner. Shoutouts to newbie mixes. If you're new to TF2, is this your first time watching? You got to watch some awesome TF2, and if you're interested in playing, !newbie mix in chat gets you linked up every Friday. Coaches, new players, it's great. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Bill and Frick, you guys want to sign us off?
Yeah, so this has been our ESEA coverage for Season 30. This has been froyotech versus Ascent. This was our grand finals. Shoutouts to froyotech for taking it all. And this concludes TFTV's coverage for Season 30 of ESEA. Have a good night, folks.
Y'all have a good night.
Can I have mod in TOTV chat?